Director Lockett. Not present for roll call. Director Adams.
Here.
Thank you. Director Robinson.
Present.
Thank you. Director Leggett. Director Leggett. Not present. Director Taylor
Here.
and Chairman Cody.
Here.
Chairman, you have an in-person down. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to get a motion and second to have approval of today's agenda. Second. Chairman, can we do a roll?
Yes, sir. Director Odell.
Yes.
Director Stone.
Yes.
Director Lockett. Not present for the vote. Director Adams.
Yes.
Director Robinson.
Yes.
Director Leggett. Not present for the vote. Director Taylor
Yes.
and Chairman Cody.
Yes,
Chairman, motion passed to approve today's agenda.
thank you. We have three presentations. Before we get into our presentations, I'd like to introduce Mr. Martin Mason, the clerk of council with the city of Savannah. Thank you, sir. Thank you for having. Our first presentation will be our health insurance renewal. I see Crest Partners. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jessica Pedigo. And I've got Deb Blazevich here with me as well, who's at Sterling Seacrest. I know y'all look forward to this moment every year. The insurance is very exciting. I won't go through every slide. I know y'all were sent this last week. But so slow me down if you've got any questions or feel free to stop me as we go. I did turn it on, you know. Okay. Point. Oh, good. That was it. So as you can see, I'm going to run through most of the benefits that we offer to the employees of CAT and go through some of the renewal and the marketing aspects of the medical plan in particular. Okay. Excuse me. As most of you will recall, CAT was with Anthem or Blue Cross Blue Shield since 1969. Last year, we moved to UHC for an 11% savings. Anthem had issued a very high renewal. And so in order to save money for not only Chatham Area Transit, but also the employees, we made that jump to UHC. In doing that, we knew there would be some disruption, of course, especially when an employer has been with one insurance carrier for so long. We knew there'd be some disruption. And I'll address some of that a little bit later. But we have worked through a lot of that this year and will continue to next year. One of the main things that drives the renewals are large claims. So, you know, sometimes if there's a high cancer or premature baby, that's where the amount of the claim. Last year, there was 13 large claims at the time of renewal. This year, we cut that almost in half with only 7 large claims. So that helped the renewal not to be as large this year. And that resulted in the loss ratio being 77.1% loss ratio, whereas the year before it was 102.3, which obviously, you know, you've now exceeded all the money that CAT is giving to the health insurer and been borrowing some. So UHC initially gave us a renewal of 15% this year. We were able to negotiate that down to 4.38. That you'll see some other numbers later, I think with Gloria and also in this presentation. We just got an additional half point off. So I was not able to update the entire presentation in time. So I'll point out where some of the numbers were still at 4.9.
That's the question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the norm? I mean, to start at something like 15% and to be able to get it down to 4%?
Yes, usually, but not always. So it really does depend on the claims, obviously, or what's driving that. So having that 77% loss ratio allowed us to really kind of drill down. Also, of course, going out to the market and having some competition in the market that I'll touch on with Cigna also allows that.
it's kind of like buying a car, you know, here's the sticker price, but we'll get you down to this. I
There,
mean,
there is
that's-
certainly some of that.
And that's just, insurance companies seem to be getting more and more difficult to deal with.
And fewer of them, which therefore, you know, the market is shrinking. So now we're down to only 4 fully insured medical carriers. So therefore, you don't have as many alternatives out there to even go to a job.
Wow.
So Humana left the medical market last year.
See, I thought you were gonna say that was just good negotiation on your part.
There is some of that too. I will not take 100% credit, but there is some of that. And it's very relationship oriented, you know, insurance in general is. And so, yeah, and they've seen that CAT will stay with an insurer for a long time. Now, you know, if you start moving every year, you don't get those good negotiated rates because they just know that you're gonna go shopping.
But I
every year.
mean, with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, that happened to the county, I mean, they just went way up. And so we didn't have a choice, but we went with United as well. Because they would not negotiate, period, at the end, so, I'm just finding this all very strange.
It is a certain process. Yes, ma'am.
Is this rate for 1 year or what period of time?
This is a 12-month rate, yes.
So they can jump and call.
Correct, correct. Yes, we get to do this every year. They get to see me every year. So we were able to negotiate down to where, from the current rate to, the 2024 rate, there's an increase of 110,415 total. And that's taken into account all the employees that are on the medical plan and the premiums that everybody would pay, both employees and CAT. So that's that total number. And this is just a demonstration of that. You can see the light green is what the initial renewal is, has been each year, and the dark green is what we negotiated it down to. And you can see 0.16 is reflected here, so it's almost flat. And I'll get into some of that detail in just a minute as well. As I said, we did go out to market. Anthem and Aetna did not even give a proposal because their rates were uncompetitive. Cigna did come in with a competitive proposal, and I've got that detail here. The initial release was 0.54% increase to the current medical year, and then they actually came down below 3% to current rates. And you can see that. Also, the top one is the loss ratio, and you can see obviously loss ratio came down a good bit, which did help us with those negotiations and the renewals.
So that's because of something that we did, or because of, is the wellness program working, is something?
So there's not a way that I can say 100%, yes, it is. But does that likely reflect in there? Yes, likely so. Because as you know, CAT did a big push in this past year in the realm of wellness. And so hopefully that is where people are going out and getting healthier, having fewer claims. Now, some large claims, of course, you can do help this first, you still have to. So you can't always tie it to, but there are a lot of large claims that are diabetes and heart related. So we didn't see as many of those this year. So I would like to think that the wellness is playing a part in that.
What do you think is going to happen with the passage of House Bill 1013 and mental health insurance parity is going to affect this?
This is already in compliance with mental health parity. So I don't think there'll be a huge increase.
Okay.
CAT is also bringing in another resource and an additional VA employee assistance program.
Mhm.
And I'll touch on that in a little bit with some of those.
Because that's been a concern, I mean, the bill needed to be passed, and that's good. But I'm concerned as to what that's gonna do to the overall insurance market now, as far as rates and even though certainly I would prefer anybody that may or may not be suffering from some type of a mental disability to be able to get help. Absolutely. Before, it gets to a dangerous level.
And so a lot of those, the getting into having the access to providers and at the same co-pays as your primary care, those are not necessarily large claim dollars. You go in to see the doctor, it's $100, $200 kind of thing, not $20,000, $30,000. So that actually should not really be much of an
Well,
impact
it
on the
can
kind of
be,
claim.
but psychotropic medication, if they have to go down that road, that can be
Certainly.
very expensive.
Certainly, there are certainly aspects to it, but
One thing I wanted to be sure and mention here, that you've already heard, from Sterling Sechrist as well, is that when we sat down and went through negotiations and looked at this, one, we went back out in the market to make sure that we were most competitive as we could be. But then on top of it all, we really did, we requested and tried to incentivize an additional layer of mental health. And that's that the employees have talked to us about stress. They've talked to us about the wellness programming that we're doing and so forth, and how much that is helping in that regard. But we really did think it was necessary to offer something above and beyond, and you're going to see that with the Hospice Savannah piece of this in just a few moments.
I have a question. I know that one of the ways that UHC manages their costs is through their very restrictive formulary on prescriptions. So how much of an issue is that gonna be for our employees when they switch over to UHC? Did they go through the formulary to ensure that they were going to cover medications that were already being prescribed? Did they meet with people before they cut them off? How, because they've been sued about it, they're very restrictive in their formula.
so each carrier has their own formulary, and so it's not apples to apples.
Right.
So, some drugs were covered under Anthem, and that same, like, let's say Adderall was covered under Anthem. Well, the drug under UHC may be Vyvanse, where it's treating the same thing, but a different actual drug. And so we did educate about that last year at open enrollment, and that was one of the disruptions from moving, which would be if you move to any carrier, where you have to go through your doctor requires prior authorization, so showing that you do need that medication. One of the things we did lose between Anthem and UHC was weight loss medication. But Anthem no longer covers those either. They stopped covering them right about the time that we left in summer of 23. So that was one disruption, but none of the fully insured carriers automatically cover that. Cigna does have a buy-up option where you can cover that.
What about
weight
things
loss
like
drugs.
antidepressants, high blood pressure medication?
All those
that kind of
are
stuff?
certainly covered under the formulary for UHC.
But not necessarily the same drugs.
Right. And
So-
so that's standard across
so-
the market.
Did people find out before they went to the pharmacy and couldn't pick up their prescriptions? Or did the insurance company go through and notify people? I mean, how did our employees find out that they're not getting their medication?
So last year at open enrollment, we had the UHC formulary available, and that was also posted. They can access it through the portal, through myuhc.com. So employees and physicians also should know that. I'm not saying they always do, but that information is also available to physicians so that when they are writing that prescription, they can see what is covered under your formulary, so as not to prescribe you a drug that's not covered under your specific formulary. That makes sense? Yeah, that cover it. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I'm diabetic.
Mhm.
And I had a situation where I was using pens, but the insurance company wouldn't, allow me to get those. They wanted me to go back and use them for hours. Never use those. Does your company do that?
I don't know offhand what diabetic medications are covered specifically, whether it's the pen or vial.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Gotta answer that. I'm a diabetic also, and you taking the pens, they're not gonna cover it. You're going to have to go back to metformin or whatever the cheapest version is, and then you have to take that for 3 months, whether it makes you sick or not. For them to, you have to get a what is it called?
Prior authorization.
Prior authorization from your physician stating that this medicine can't work for you in order for them to even attempt to try to cover it.
And that's a standard practice, no matter who the insurance carrier is. So if Cat wanted to move to Cigna, then everyone would actually go through that process again with Cigna. Anytime there's a new change in carrier that would trigger that prior authorization occurring. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question, it's been really a time when, the doctors that people have been using over 10, 15, 20 years into UHC network. I would try to get my doctor in there along with the management staff, you know, we go to the same position. So they cannot get in the doctors in the network, and it's been over a year that UHC has been funding, they would get you doctors in, so that's causing a lot of employees. Now shopping for doctors that they already have for 15 years and they're not.
And so I know one of the documents that you and I have spoken about, Jeb actually reached out to them because UHC, now there is we don't have access to the department within UHC who reaches out for provider network. They keep that kind of siloed so that you don't know about the negotiations. But so we reached out to our contact at UHC, who then reached out to theirs. And we were told that they did not have any of the paperwork from the doctor that we talked about. And so they sent us the required paperwork and then Jeb sent it to, I am saying that.
Yeah, so I reached out multiple times and have not gotten anything back, but if there's anything that we can do specifically, we just need to hop on the phone, they just need to go through the motions, because it is the doctor and UHC having the agreement. And UHC is the largest network in the country, so they are willing to put people in. The question is, A, does the doctor submit the right stuff? So obviously it's paperwork, it's a bunch of PIP, it's a bunch of red tape. And then B, do they agree to the terms? So I'm more than happy to help, and we've actually reached out multiple times, I just can't get a hold of the doctor.
Okay. And we are gonna, with, UHC agreed to have a representative on site at the open enrollment meetings so that we can work through any of these. If Cat does remove UHC, should try to ease some of these pain points because we're aware they're out there. And UHC is aware they're out there because we told them.
Yeah, that was like mostly the major problems with our employees is, you know, just getting the doctors that they have in the network. And, you know, getting their medication covered besides that, and, you know, they don't really have a problem with those people back home.
And I appreciate you bringing that to our attention a month or so ago until we met. And so we certainly want to work through those things. We do not want to ignore them. Like I said, Jeb's been on the phone a bunch recently, and we'll continue to reach out to providers if we need to. And that's part of why we want to have a UHC rep here, where you're not having to go through me to get to them. They're here on site during those meetings and can really help immediately with walking through those processes. One of the other bonuses of UHC, both UHC and the Cigna proposal include a performance funding agreement, which, if you're familiar with it, it's basically a level funded. It's kind of in between fully insured and self-funded, where if there is overage at the end of the plan year, where if your loss ratio stays low at the kind of mid-70s, then the total at the end of the plan year was split. Half goes to UHC and the other half comes back to Chatham Area Transit. So great benefit there. Of course, in this current plan year is the first year we've had that available to us. Once we left Anthem, we were able to get that. And so if you renew with UHC and the loss ratio stays low, then we could potentially get some earnings back from that as well. This I won't kind of linger on too much. And I will say this is not updated. You see a 4.9 for UHC. Like I said, we're down to actually 4.38. But so this is just the breakout for each tier, just to give you a little snapshot. What I find to be the most important is this bi-weekly change in employee contribution. So another thing to point out is CAP pays 75% of the medical premiums, which is very generous. And so obviously the employee is covering that, the 25%. These also have not been updated to reflect that latest 0.5% reduction. So they'll be all just slightly lower than that. So this is the high plan. This has the most members on the high plan. There are 101 on the high plan. This is the middle plan. Again, not updated. You still see the 4.9. And so here's the bi-weekly change. in contribution. The middle plan has the middle amount of people at 37. And then the low plan, this is the high deductible plan that is compatible with a health savings account. And so this has 13 employees, and you can see those bi-weekly changes in contributions. Also, last year, when Pat moved to UHC, you were able to offer the HSA bank available to employees. And so that had not been made available initially. So now it was much easier for employees in the low plan to open that HSA and able to pull money from their paycheck and put it in that savings account. COBRA is also run through UHC. So last year we were able to package most things with UHC. So the COBRA and HRA are managed through UHC. Cigna does not administer COBRA. That would have to be outsourced. But one of the main things that I know we touched on last year, but just as a reminder, moving the HRA to UHC, it's a lot of letters, allows for an automatic adjudication of the claims. So prior to this current plan year, employees had to come out of pocket for their deductible. The CAT covers the last $1,000 of everybody's deductible, up to 3 per family. And so people were having to come out of pocket and then file for a reimbursement and then get paid back. So not everybody was aware of it. Not everybody, me, to not remember to do it. And so, or you still had to come out of pocket and get reimbursed. That went away with UHC. So that's automatically now. A lot more people are taking advantage of it because it is running in the back. So you go to your doctor's office, and when you hit your first part of that deductible, the last $1,000 is automatically paid by UHC provider. So that was a huge bonus last year, and that will continue. Wellness, as you mentioned, Pat has done a bunch in the wellness realm this past year. They have Walk It Wednesdays, Fresh Fruit Fridays, which I really like, I wish my office did. Part of UHC's proposal is this current year, and if renewal was $25,000 towards wellness. And so Christina has done a great job of spending those dollars, purchasing fruit. You can purchase equipment for the gym. You can purchase gift cards as incentives if there was a healthy giveaway, that sort of thing. So it's $25,000 that UHC provides. One of the things I failed to mention a few slides ago is, it was on the slide, but at renewal, UHC has agreed to give $66,000 premium credit back to CAT on the second invoice. So that helped bring that, not the rates necessarily down, but the total cost to CAT came down with that. And this, as Ms. Damaso mentioned, she had asked kind of what additional mental health resources were out there that could be implemented. And we've got a couple of clients here locally. It's through Hospice Savannah, their EDAL program. It is a robust employee assistance program. It covers your general counseling, financial counseling, bereavement counseling, and caregiver counseling. And so that is for each of those, it's 4 face-to-face sessions per employee, per person, because it can go to your family as well. Per person, per issue, per year. So if you are stressed at work and need to speak to someone, you can speak to someone locally for 4 times. They can help you find another provider if needed. If you then are having marital issues, that would be a whole separate issue, and you can get someone more face-to-face. So really a great resource and a very broad array of topics. That also includes on-site employer training. I mean, it can be for HR, it can be workshops for the employees. It can also discuss policies and procedures and how to deal with, especially if there were ever to be any sort of need for bereavement counseling at the employer level. We occasionally have someone who passes away on site. Everyone needs to have that counseling available. They can come on site and have that available the next day. So a really good benefit that CAT has made the decision to financially support and have available for their employees. Also new this year, we're UHC, if renewed, UHC in late July will do biometric screenings on site. So that would be for employees. And that not only kind of goes back to your point earlier about the wellness of because we all know it is a nationwide problem now trying to get in to see your provider and PCP. And so this gives everyone a snapshot of their health, right from the screening, someone who can talk to about it. So that you know, if you're not going to your doctor, you still know if you've got high blood pressure or any other health conditions. So that'll be a nice benefit. And that also UHC has a wellness built-in wellness program where you can go, you can, through that app, you can, if you wear a tracker device, you can log that. You can do sleep, you can set goals for yourself. If you do your flu shot or biometric screening, all of this, you get dollars back. And so here you can see, this is just a little snapshot. This is through March, I believe. And 51 people are participating and have earned $3,800 back. And that was from July through March. And so, you know, of course, with any new program, it kind of takes a little bit to get some traction.
Jessica, really quick, if you would go back to the previous slide, one thing I wanted to be sure and mention for the board's awareness as well is where it talks about on-site educational programs with community partners and being able to use some of that support that we get from UHC to do that. We have a program, I believe that's done, Beverly, help me, isn't it monthly, the program we have in here? This room is usually pretty packed, and it's been everything from things about nutrition to dancing to just all different kinds of programs around you know, wellness and mental health and so forth. Really popular because on the days when that occurs, this room is quite lively and packed. So just wanted to make the board aware of that as well.
And I believe some of that has been funded with the United Healthcare wellness dollars for lunch and learns and that sort of thing. All right, unless there's any other questions on medical, I'll run into dental. For the dental has been with MetLife. This is the second renewal. We were issued a 9% dental increase. Last year, it was a substantial increase. We went out to the market and this was not that unusual, kind of coming off of COVID where people didn't go to the dentist for a while. And then everybody went back to the dentist the same year. And so claims dollars escalated and therefore renewals did as well. This was not just a Chatham area transit thing. We saw this across the board. So this year we got what we feel is a fair renewal at 9%. MetLife did say if you offer the legal plan and then 2 employees enroll, then we'll drop those rates to 6%. So the decision and suggestion was to offer that legal plan. Nobody has to take it. If it is something that employees would be interested in, the legal plan is basically like a monthly subscription where you're paying a monthly fee, a monthly rate, and have access to thousands of attorneys that can do a myriad, not cover DUI, that's always a question, but they cover financial issues, divorce, child custody, have a broad range of legal situations is covered by the plan. So that would be another offering that would be new this year. Also, CAP pays 70% of the dental rates for employees. The vision policy is currently with United Healthcare. We moved it last year when the medical was moved. It came with a 3-year rate guarantee. Initially, there was a 4.78% savings when it was moved to UHC, and that had a 3-year rate guarantee. So obviously, we're still under that guarantee, and the savings would continue. The vision is what helps us get that 25% extra off of the medical as well. So those rates won't be increasing at all, and CAP pays for the employee-only premium for the vision. And then last, not quite last, very close to last, life and disability policies in 22 were standard, had a fairly large increase. So we went out to market. Hartford came in with a good bit of savings, and so we moved in 22 to Hartford. They had a 2-year rate guarantee at the time. Obviously, we're coming out of that rate guarantee, but they gave us a flat renewal with another 2-year rate guarantee. So there'd be no increase. And CAT, of course, pays for basic life, short-term and long-term disability for employees, which is also extremely generous. So, but no, including voluntary life, none of those rates will increase this year for employees or for CAT. And then lastly, just the communication and education efforts will continue. Like I said, we will, if UHC is renewed, there'll be a representative on site. And we do a guide every year that'll be updated each year that kind of, you know, puts all this amazing and fascinating information into layman's terms, to help everybody kind of understand their benefits. And also what we really strive to do at open enrollment, is help people understand how best to use their benefits, because the United States has overcomplicated a lot of this, if you ask me. And so, you know, talking about staying in network, how you can get those wellness dollars back through the United Healthcare program, that sort of thing. So those meetings, I feel are really important, maybe I'm biased, but to really kind of educate everybody on if there are any changes throughout the year. And of course, this year we'll be very focused on the new hospice EAP and how that is available to everyone. And with that, I appreciate your time, and I'm happy to answer any other questions if there are any.
I don't think mine as much to you as this is staff, like these are some awesome benefits and some incentives. But the numbers that I like to see is who's really taking advantage of it, because to me, you know, the numbers are great, but who are these numbers? Are they really our drivers who are probably the most stressed, you know, have the most difficulties or is inside, you know, so that, and I was thinking too, I know it's probably difficult because you have, if I'm wrong, you have different shifts, different drivers. So are we doing a rotation of, you know, I mean, how is it designed that everybody can take full advantage of? That's a great, thank you for the monies that they can do these things. But I've been to see who's actually taking advantage of these. Sure. And I'm hoping it's the folk that's out there in the.
I 100% agree with you.
You know, so I would like to see those numbers from staff as well.
Any other questions? I appreciate your time.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the next presentation. The donation of Chatham Area Transit Historic Bus Stop sign. We have today Miss Artist Woods. She's gonna give us a presentation on the St. Chatham RG Park and Downtown Neighborhood Association. Thank you.
Those benefits sound pretty good. I don't know if you have any more employment opportunities here, but I might be interested. Scenic America is the only national organization that deals strictly with the visual environment of our country. Some used to say you're anti-billboard, which is true, but we are more than that. We are pro-beauty, and I think regardless of what kind of community you're in, what political party you belong to, etc., beauty makes a big difference in our lives in many ways. And we certainly appreciate having an affiliate, Scenic Chatham, in our community. Outdoor advertising is a tricky thing. The more we have it, the more we're distracted, and the more kind of generic community we have. But 5 years ago, CAT was wonderful, A+, because they did something great for us. They took these awful rafts around buses, which they got, I guess, a certain amount of money, but the person that arranged it, the salesman got about 40%, so it wasn't as good as it looked. But at any rate, visually, this makes a huge difference. And you got a certificate of appreciation. I hope it's hanging somewhere, but pass that around, and it just makes a big difference. I know advertisers want to sell you ideas about putting digital ads in the CAT bus stops, on buses, just anywhere we can, you know, make it any place USA and push you to spend money and so on. But I know it might help a little bit for your budget to do some of these things, but visually it would be a real negative. And so thank you for hanging on to keeping Savannah special and Chatham County. Scenic Chatham is, of course, 8 municipalities and the unincorporated. We have live oaks, marshes, squares, Bishop Cook lamps, a dozen historic house museums, festivals. We're not just any place USA. And we want to remember that whether or not we are creating a great alley of trees to enter our county, or whether we're putting up bus stops. The bus stops we had until a few years ago probably were the only ones in the world. They were 1940 Art Deco design and called the Lollipops. And we were very sad to see them disappear, especially out of our historic districts. We have about 15. If the whole county wants them back, we'd be delighted. But since that was made a decision some years ago, the historic neighborhoods got together and a number of them said, we'll pay to put them back. I know that it was a mistake, but let's don't live with that. Because, you know, it's like having a nice piece of jewelry versus junk or nothing. Little things mean a lot, and visually, those signs are very special. If you saw nothing else in a picture but that bus stop sign, you would say, Savannah. We had a couple of the neighborhood associations give us $6,000 toward this and produced 40 of them. And they are, I think maybe half of them are in. And I know you've been very busy and understaffed and underfunded and so on. But we would like to partner with you to continue to do that because most people still want them back in the historic districts. So the job is out there to partner with, and if any of you have questions or comments, I'd be delighted to hear them. You like them? There was a concern, oh, well, we need more information. Well, in the meantime, we've gotten these apps and all kinds of things which tell us routes and can they handle bicycles, can they handle wheelchairs? All that stuff is online. And we don't have to put out every bit of information, or if we do on the lollipop signs, they could just be attached to the poles and still keep the look of the historic side. Yes, ma'am.
So just a couple of things to follow up with you. You had reached out to me last week, and Mr. Flanders is following up. Our assistant COO for maintenance and facilities is following up now to find out exactly the status of those that have not been installed yet. One of the things that I mentioned to you is we are just completing, and it'll be fully complete within the next month or two, bus stop, a comprehensive Chatham-wide bus stop inventory, shelter stops, everything inventory to determine everything from ADA compliance to the condition of the stop to the completeness of the stop. And when I say completeness, does it provide shelter? Does it have lighting? Does it have seating? And all those sorts of things, because our primary concern, of course, is those who are using our system. And we want to be sure that it is a welcoming and safe and, effective, dignified place to wait for your trip. So all of that work is underway, and the remainder of those signs I know would be considered, as that work is being completed as well. So I just wanted to be sure you were aware of all those things. And then I'll mention one other thing that you might find especially sort of a fun thing is we had a recent tour with SCAD with some potential work with SCAD Pro. And they showed us, and some of you on the board and you may be aware, they have a facility where they've got like backlights, like for film lights. And one of those one of those areas that they have that's a backlot area is supposed to be downtown Savannah. And the first thing that we said when we walked out onto the backlot and they were showing it is we said, where's the bus stop sign? Where's the lollipop sign? So they now have we're in process of working with them to install a lollipop sign on what is supposed to be the downtown Savannah streetscape to make sure that it is authentic and it represents transit in the community, because otherwise it didn't. So just I hope that that's a little fun fact for you as well.
Thank you. Good news. Good news. Anything else? Well, we are available. This is a nonprofit. We don't charge for this. We'll try and raise the funds as we can and partner with you. If you will put them in, and we'll even help you pay them if you want to ask us to come and do that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, much appreciated.
I'll take that. Everybody see this? If they wanted to.
Right. Next, we have our union president, Donna Swinton.
Chairman Cody, Board of Directors, management, and the public at large that's out there. I'm sustaining my, portion of the meeting to invite, ATU International, Director of Workforce Development, Mr. Jermaine Gibson.
Right, good morning.
Good morning.
No worries, no worries. Will this remote work on yours? Okay. Again, Jermaine Gibson, Director of Apprenticeship and Workforce Development for ATU International. My department is responsible for helping transit agencies and ATU locals explore different workforce development solutions to help with recruitment, retention of operators, mechanics across the US and Canada. Normally good with staying on the PowerPoint. I will tell you that I work in DC, but I live in Atlanta. I actually have to get back to Atlanta because I have a flight to catch. So if you get a little bit of my nervousness, that's because I don't like flying. Last year, I took 147 flights and I'm already on flight 70 something already for the year. So again, I'm going to talk about different programs that we have. We have actually created over 110 different partnerships or programs across the US and Canada. That includes mentorships, labor management partnerships, and apprenticeship programs. One of the reasons why, if the remote wants to work with let's get it by hand. All right, I'll make this work. So one of the reasons why is we realize that we're going to have to hire 126% of today's transit workforce will have to be hired, trained in the next 10 years. 90% are frontline workers. The pandemic actually increased that number. In most places, when I come out to do this presentation, I haven't met a single transit agency or local yet that has enough operators and enough mechanics to provide service, even if you're still operating at the pandemic levels. Most transit agencies are now being asked to expand service. We can go to the next one. And we just simply can't find enough operators and mechanics to do it. Several reasons why: aging workforce. Even before the pandemic, we had the silver tsunami. It sped up. We saw a lot of our veteran operators and mechanics leave the workforce because of the pandemic. One of the things that we realized, especially from the ATU, is we do a disservice to the transit industry every single day. We allow someone to walk out that has 25, 30 years of experience and have no way of capturing that and passing that down to the newer and younger people coming in. Another piece, as I mentioned a second ago, is expansion of service, new technology, and I think the biggest is image of our industry. We now live in a world where whatever this tells you is what you believe. And if you put in public transit on any search, you're going to see nothing but negative. And so it's real hard for us to be able to attract people. One, because they're leaving fast. And then two, everyone sees the image of being a public transit employee as one that's being disrespected and not, seen in a great light. You're gonna have to go pushing myself, right? You're gonna make it work. One of the things that we have been doing since 2005 is we've really been capturing that mentoring, whether it's for operators, mechanics, or whatever other classifications you may represent here at this transit authority. We realized the key was to make sure that we had a support system to support new people coming in. I'll be very honest, and I'm very black and white. Over the last 5 years, we are hiring people that we wouldn't have taken. They would not have had the qualifications or skills necessary that we were looking for 5 years ago. And in taking people that we wouldn't have taken, we're now taking on their social issues. And so if you don't have a support system in place, what we're seeing is low retention. We're seeing people who we train, get their CDL and leave before they do a day on the job. Or we're getting people where the local is spending all our resources trying to keep them employed when we knew from day one that we should have never hired them. But we simply can't find people. Go to the next one. All right, and so why mentoring is important, and this is very true for I got any operators in here? Anybody ever driven a bus? Okay, one of the things that you will learn very quickly in this industry is nothing can prepare you for being an operator until you actually get behind that wheel. I'll give you just a little bit about me. I came into this industry in 2011, 30 days after my little brother was shot and killed in Oakland. What I didn't realize about this industry is they can train you how to drive a bus. But if they don't give you those personal skills, if they don't give you that support, when you get behind that wheel, whatever's going on in your personal life is magnified by 1,000. And so what we've been able to do is take those veteran operators who have done this job 10 years, 15 years, 30 years, who realize what that secret sauce is, to be able to mentor those new people coming in by saying, hey, look, you got to realize that your career is carrying the world's most precious cargo. Any mistake that you make may result in your life being taken, someone that's on the bus or someone that's around the bus. And so we really spend a lot of time making sure that we have that veteran and not only talk to them about being a professional operator, but what does it take to be a better person? I think the biggest piece that we've realized over the last 5 years, because again, we're taking in people that we wouldn't have taken. Sometimes these are sometimes the people that we're getting and giving a mentor, this is their first father figure. This is their first mother figure. This is that first big brother, big sister that says, hey, you're supposed to be at work on time. Hey, pull your pants up. You're not supposed to do X, Y, and Z. So we spend a lot of time with the mentoring. What we have realized, and by doing that with operators and mechanics, everywhere that we have a program, and I just told you 110, we have a retention rate right now between 88% and 94% after 1 year. I now have 26 transit agencies who are no longer hiring for operators or mechanics. I think if I skip, because again, I'm gonna skip through a lot of it. To the next one, go to the next one. And again, before we switch, go back one, the peer mentoring piece is the big part. It really has to come from someone who is doing the work. Whether you're operating or being a mechanic, the people have to see that you're a person that's out there going through the same struggles that they're going through. Mentoring has not been something new that's in our industry. I always tell transit agencies, you already have a mentor program that's running. Most likely, it's someone that doesn't like you as a transit agency, don't like us as a local, but they come to work every single day and they do just enough not to get fired. And what we do with our mentor program is we make sure that when they come in, they understand that this is a great career. This can lead to great career growth. Again, I started off as an operator and now I'm a director of a department where all I do is help other transit agencies and locals create these type of programs. And it's really that peer-to-peer piece. As I mentioned earlier, with the loss that I had coming into this industry, if it wasn't for a lady by the name of Ms. Rhonda Knox, I wouldn't be standing here in front of you doing this presentation. I don't have the fare away from slapping someone. And then again, I had that person that I can call 24/7 who was there to remind me, this is a career and it's not just you. At that time, I had a wife and 3 kids. And so you are doing this for something much bigger than yourself. And so again, has led to great career growth for me, especially with all the other programs we have. We now have 1,673 mentors across the US and Canada, and we're going to continue growing. I'm not a person that, again, I don't know you and you don't know me. I could be coming here selling you wolf tickets. That's what they used to call it. I don't know what they say now. But what I do is when I create a program or when we create a program, we ask them to capture their metrics. And what we're starting to do is actually turn those into videos. What you're going to see really quickly is a program that we put together in Cleveland. The reason that they made the request is their retention rate was at 50%. One day they actually had 10 new operators drive 10 60-foot buses downtown, fully loaded, open up all the doors and walk away and left them there. And so when I came in about 1.5 years ago, the goal was to create this type of program. And I want to kind of show you what that looks like.
including RTA, like many other transit agencies, issue virtual meetings driving, both to strengthen our workforce and to advance our commitment to offering excellent service to our customers throughout all of our transit systems. Recruiting, hiring, and retaining new qualified candidates to fill these critical positions is our top priority. To better retain newly hired drivers and to reduce absentees, we've launched what we call our Positive Impact Program. It's a system-wide rudimentary program which pairs seasoned drivers who have years of experience with newly hired drivers. It's an innovative way to promote successful outcomes for these drivers during their one-year probationary period.
We knew that the only way to be successful was to be totally collaborative, gain times, organic growth, grassroots efforts. It started first and foremost with building trust, the partnership between RTA management and ATU.
The mentor program is really designed to not only keep someone focused on the professional piece, but really get them to understand how this career can also help the programs. So it's good for recruitment and it's also a good way of retaining people as well.
I think the mentoring program was one of the best things RTA could have done. My mentor was a very, very good mentor. He actually helped me. I was able to call on him all night or in the morning, whenever I need him. He gave me that option to call him. He actually gave me a lot of good information as far as driving. It changed lives because it prepares you for other things. But having someone to just be able to talk to. And it also prepares you for dealing with the customer and then dealing with your coworkers and dealing with driving, whether it's train, paratransit, and everything. We have the support system that new operators needed. They're able to understand the rules and regulations, or even something simple as how to report for on time and have somebody that's going to support them throughout their whole probation period, for a period of 1 year.
And the early data shows that results of the peer mentoring program are not only encouraging, but transforming the way we hire, train, and keep drivers who are looking to build a stable career and a promising future with Greater Cleveland RTA.
1 year into the program, new operators paired with a mentor had a 36% higher retention rate than their peers who did not have a mentor. So we jumped from 50% retention at the 1 year mark up to 86%. We also saw a 30% decrease in absences and a 50% decrease for new operators paired with a mentor versus their peers who were not.
Work-life balance is paramount when doing this job. Having a mentor allows them to do that successfully. It's making a huge difference.
I feel like I accomplished a lot. I feel like I can grow within RTA. This is a blessing to have.
It's helped so many people and it's life-changing around here.
Interested in making it?
There are several things that you notice in there. One, I've lost weight since we've done that video, so I just wanted to point that out and give myself kudos. But the other piece is that we really do find people that want to give back. We really do find people who come, appreciate this career, and they want to make sure that that's passed on to the new people coming in. And again, one of the things that as I mentioned earlier, is we capture all the metrics. I have metrics for all 110 programs. The numbers show that when you use these mentor programs for operators, it's amazing. We have now rolled out the same type of programs for maintenance. What we've realized with maintenance is they need that same support. And so the mentoring on the maintenance side is not about the technical piece, but it's more about the soft skills. One of the pieces that I like to point out with the mentoring, and I heard it earlier with the health presentation, over the last 6 months, we prevented 10 suicides because we have mentors there. I actually come from Santa Clara Valley Transit Authority, where yesterday was our 5-year anniversary, where one of our members came in and shot and killed 9 other people on the job. We also just had a shooting in Florida 2 months ago. So we've seen violence in transit industry go up. And what we've been doing with these mentor programs as part of the mentoring is making sure that they can identify some of those needs, make sure we're getting in front of it. Because again, as I said earlier, 5 years later, we're bringing in people that have all kind of issues, and you don't have that internal support system. We're seeing that it's actually turning out to be something quite negative. It's not just about getting butts in the seats or getting somebody to turn the wrench, but do they have the capacity to make sure that the people out there are safe, the public, and the people in here are safe that work at the transit. We can skip forward. So again, we can go to the, I was gonna say apprenticeship. I talked about some of the benefits already. I'm not gonna bore you with those pieces. This is perfect. What we've also realized in transportation is not only is the mentoring important, but it's actually the foundation of apprenticeship programs. We now have over 13 different classifications registered with the Department of Labor that are apprenticeable occupations. That includes coach operator, and that includes mechanic. One of the reasons why we have so many classifications is we're now having transit agencies and locals, once they can partner, create apprenticeship programs that are creating additional revenue for transit agencies. We can skip to the next. So again, this is just a picture from a coach operator apprenticeship program that we have up in Minneapolis. The operators is our #1 hired position, but we also have the mechanics. Just to give you a little bit of why the apprenticeship piece is so important, once you have the mentoring. Here in Georgia, they're giving you $7,500 for each apprentice. How many operators did you hire last year? What? What's about 35 times 35 times 7,500. That's how much money you would have just generated by doing simply what you're doing now. Because in our industry, we hire people and then we train them for the job that we hire them for. So again, for the operator, since we hire them, help them get their CDL, once you have the mentor piece in place, that allows for it to be apprenticeable, that allows for the additional money for each one of those apprentices. We can go through the next couple. Again, apprenticeship is nothing more than 144 hours of classroom with 2,000 hours of on-the-job learning. I'll use the operator as a good one. How many weeks is new operator training to help them get their CDL? 8 weeks is well more than 144 hours of classroom. Once they have that mentor, you put that mentor in place. That mentor isn't there to ride on the bus with them every day. They may not ride with them at all. As long as they can contact them by cell phone, text, see them in the driver's room, you're allowed to count that first year as all on the job learning. It simply changes nothing about what you're doing now, minus installing a mentor program. Okay, the maintenance side is a little different. That's gonna, to create the program, I would have to know what kind of training you're already doing, what kind of training that you need. In our ATU resources, if you don't have curriculum, if you don't have the pieces for a program, we actually put you together with other transit agencies that are already running programs to share. MARTA is one of mine, and so MARTA has 6 apprenticeship programs. Again, we use all the resources in our network to help you get up and go. What's the next one? These are just all the pieces to create an apprenticeship program. All this will be in the packet that comes out to you. My job or my department's job is to walk you through every piece. I'm not a person that shows up, gives you a presentation, comes back 6 months later and asks you where you are. We walk you through every piece, partnering with the DOL, partnering with Veteran Affairs. We help you with the paperwork, also help you find grant funding as well. So those are all the things that this department does since I am assigned to the local. Go to the next one. Again, we can skip through all these because this is all just kind of explaining what you just saw a second ago. Keep going. Keep going. Sorry. Again, I like to put this slide in there because some people, if you are familiar with apprenticeships, you can do all that training here. Does not require that you have to send someone to a community college or a tech school. I am here to help you figure out what's going to work best for you at the transit agency and the local. Go to the next piece. Let's skip to the money. That's what people want to hear about, right? Okay. Correct. So right here is a good one. So what we realized is by creating these internal apprenticeship programs, we still have to create a pipeline of people to go into them. So once you actually have a registered apprenticeship program, not only does that open up the door for funding from that bank, but you also get what they call pre-apprenticeship money. This is money where we're working with high schools, adult ed, different places along the line. So the program that you just saw, it's actually a pre-apprenticeship programs for coach operators. We actually have 7 of those programs up and now. Each one of those partnerships got about $500,000 to create a program to get people ready to be operators. That included customer service, that included de-escalation. We had to help people with interview skills. I think one of the things that we probably all in this room, and I don't want to say it the wrong way, take for granted, when we go home, the lights are on, we have internet access, we have laptops. What we found is we were missing 25% of the people in the city, because if you could only apply for the job online, how do I do that if I don't have access? I'll do that if I don't have an email address. And so these are just some of the things that we've been able to do with this funding. We can go to the next one. We can skip past the video. This is just one for the maintenance, just like you saw on the bus. Like I said, we capture everything. I don't know if you're planning to go battery electric or if you already have it. So we also provide training. We also help you find additional dollars. ATU, for those that don't know, work very closely with the White House, APTA, and FTA. So we are behind the scenes making sure that transit agencies where we have partnerships are receiving those additional fundings and are receiving the resources that they're going to need. Again, this technology for battery electric is extremely dangerous. We've had several garages burn up. We've had buses catch fire on the street. And so what we do is we make sure that you have all the necessary resources while you continue to roll this technology out. We can go to the next one. Skip past this one. So this is one of my favorites. Again, as we talk about apprenticeship programs, and now we're going to get into some of the resources. One of our biggest recruitment tools is once you have a registered program, it automatically registers with Veteran Affairs. Any veterans in here? No veterans? There we go. So what happens is when you have a registered apprenticeship program, if you have access to your GI Bill or Veteran Education Fund, you're allowed to use your Chapter 31 and 33 housing allowance for that apprenticeship program. What that means is for every person you hire, whether it's an operator or a mechanic who is a veteran that goes into your apprenticeship program, they will receive $1,557 per month while they're in the apprenticeship program. This is money that's paid directly from VA. That is no additional cost to the transit agency at all. And your local VA will actually do recruitment for you. Hey, you're returning to Savannah. Here's an apprenticeship program where you're allowed to use your benefit. And there's an additional incentive to you as the transit agency for hiring a veteran. Now, what's great about this benefit, let's say I've been an operator here for 10 years and you create a bus mechanic apprenticeship program and I get into that program. As long as I still have access to that funds, even though I've been here 20, 30 years, they will also give me that same benefit as well. Again, no cost to you at all. They will recruit for you, and you get to use the military logos on all your recruitment materials moving forward. Go to the next one. Skip past this. One more. These are just the steps. As I said earlier, I'll be your resource to help you go through that piece. Go to the next one. Again, pass this one. Community college is another piece. So we also help you figure out if you want to partner with community college. I have operators who are getting 18 college units. I have mechanics who are getting 28 college units. And again, we help you create that partnership. There's actually money that the college will pay you for your apprenticeship program being housed at their college. So again, this is just another avenue of getting young people introduced to not only being the transit career, being an operator or being a mechanic, but let's say they decide that they want to move up into management or they want to move up into a union position. I've met several general managers that started off as bus operators. Our international president started off cleaning trains. So this is just a way of getting people into the college system as well. We'll go to the next slide. Skip past this one. All right, now all the different funding. We can skip it. So again, a lot of this money is coming from the infrastructure bill. Over the last 15 years, there's been $6.5 billion available for apprenticeships. Over the next 4 years, that's $55 billion every single year available for apprenticeship programs. From the international standpoint, we actually manage $13 million of apprenticeship funding. This is money that we give to transit agencies and locals across the US where we have a partnership. This helps them get their mentor program off the ground. This helps them with their apprenticeship. We buy toolboxes, we buy whatever is needed to support the apprenticeship program. And again, this is something that ATU International does where we have partnerships. But here are just some of the several other pots of money that's available. We go to the next one. Here's my favorite benefit. And in this state, we do have WIOLA, which is Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, again, for registered apprenticeships. So if you had a registered apprenticeship program, every single operator or every single mechanic that qualifies, which is about 95% of the people that we hire, you will be eligible to receive 50% of their salary back at the end of each apprenticeship year. Again, 35 operators, not exactly sure how much they're making, but let's just say it's 50,000. Well, times 25,000 times that 35, on top of the 7,500 that I talked to you about earlier. Another great benefit about WIOLA is childcare. Seems to be a big issue. Once you have a registered apprenticeship program, anyone that is qualified for WIOLA will receive free childcare. They will also receive free transportation. These are all things you can now add on to your recruitment package. Not only are you recruiting veterans, but hey, if you have a kid or you don't have a car, even though you're coming into the transit industry, this is all money that's paid directly from the federal government. It costs you as a transit agency nothing at all. Go to the next one. And finally, again, because you're planning on purchasing or buying battery electric vehicles or hydrogen fuel cell, that's going to come through the Low-No Grant Program. As you know, or the people that don't know, the Low-No Grant Program now requires that you have a labor management partnership with your local around the workforce development to not only be considered for the additional 5%, but to be considered for the entire purchase. What we do at the international side is we work directly with FTA to make sure that transit agencies that are putting in for these fundings actually has a partnership with our locals. Of the 85 local or 85 grant applications we supported last year, 64 of them were approved. The round for this year just closed. We will be meeting with FTA to let them know who has partnerships and who don't. We want to make sure that places where we can partner, you're getting the funding that you need to make sure that our members are trained. I think with that, I will take any questions if you have them. Yes, sir.
You know, if you can talk more, how to partnership.
Partnership with the ATU?
Yeah.
That's going to be transit agency to local. My job is once I'm assigned, which I am assigned to the local, I'm here to help you with those labor management pieces. Because again, what we really want to do is help you build a partnership where you can access this funding. Again, your job is to get transit on the street. For the people in this room, when it's not there, you hear about it. And so what we want to do is in our partnership, we realize that we can spend all day fighting, but we need each other. You don't have the resources that you have, and we don't have the members that we have, and what's the point? So that's where you get to access the funding. And that's the only way you can do it is by having a partnership with the ATU. That's correct. I will say this was easy. No other questions? Okay. All right, I think we're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys have a good one. I just wanted to.
Safe travels.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Swinton, for allowing me to speak to us today.
No
I
problem.
appreciate it. Next, we have consent items. You want to get a motion in the section? All right, thanks.
So, Mr. Chairman, before we get a second, let me ask this question one more time. At what point do board members get a chance to ask questions about the items on the consent agenda? After the approval or before the approval, when does that happen?
Before the approval, we can have whatever questions there.
When does that happen?
Right before you take the vote, so your motion, second, that opens the floor for discussion.
Okay.
You're second, okay, thank you.
All right, can we have roll call, please?
This would be the time, Dr. Robinson, would you have something at the time?
I just had,
Yes, sir.
I just had two questions. I had one for, 4C and 4F. 4F, I'm a little bit confused with the ratification, because I thought that we had done it for the May election. You didn't do it for May?
You did not, you did it for all the others and we, at the time, and I think that was explained in one of the emails or maybe in the agenda item too, we didn't have the date at that point for the May primary when we because remember early on, we asked you all to approve election dates. So we went ahead, the primary got to us and we didn't want to miss providing the normal service that we provide to get people to and from the polls. So we went ahead and provided the service and are asking for ratification now.
So we did do it in May.
We provided the service, yes, ma'am.
So we did provide time to the poll in the month of May.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what we're doing now is we're asking to ratify what was already done and to include if there's a.
And it includes a July date.
There's a June runoff.
There's a runoff coming up. That's correct. So it includes both.
And would it include November or are we gonna wait on that?
You had already, I think, voted on, wasn't
No,
November
no.
included what they voted on earlier? The general election was already included.
When
Yes,
this
ma'am.
first came up, I think it was like,
It was early in the year
it was either like January or December.
and we just didn't have the dates for the runoffs and the primary
We
yet.
talked about it.
We
Yeah,
did.
it wasn't listed, and then I said, remember, we have the May election,
Right.
and then nobody had the date.
So we're just asking for ratification of what we just provided on the date of the primary for the approval for the upcoming runoff. And then the others have already been approved.
Okay, so we should be pretty much okay. from this point.
We will.
All right, and I always get confused here when we do, purchases or RFPs now, but we're going with Robert with the current person because we didn't send this back out for bid again.
Yes, ma'am, we had to send it back out. We were required to,
Right.
and they had to bid.
Okay, so we send it back out again, and then but the same people was able to.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. And we ended up getting a very competitive price. It's actually a tad lower than what we got on ferries 1 and 2. But the good news, I think, will be too, because they did happen to be the bidder, is that because they're familiar with those vessels already, we should be able to have it go very efficiently.
My other question, maybe this is something else, but with the infrastructure from Georgia Power,
Yes, ma'am.
what's happening with that? Because I think we can't go.
So there is a grant application in here it's E, I believe. Am I getting it right?
Yeah, I saw that.
G, okay.
So,
So we're applying for funding to enable us to do the charging infrastructure that we will ultimately need for those hybrid ferries. In the meantime, they'll operate on regular fuel because they're hybrids until that charging infrastructure, we get the funding for it and it's put in place. But we are coordinating through Georgia Power for that.
I think I heard, last month that they were backlogged or can't get to us or do it right away. There's some delays.
Well, I think that's on the charging infrastructure, the regular stuff out here. There's been some delay for our regular vehicles, but we're not necessarily delayed. We would be in the queue. We've got to get the funding in place in order to be able to actually put everything in place for them to put us in the queue to do this work.
But not just the new fare, but the existing ones we already have.
Yes, ma'am. For the ones that we'll be getting in November.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
The grant application's been removed off the agenda.
That's for the DOE, this is for the action item for the, other grant, for the, no additional grant.
Yeah,
And which one is that?
It's E.
Happens to go on the line, the hot now.
I think those came up before for discussion.
Yeah, it's so E and C are kind of related, and E is also related to the other 2 hybrid ferries that we have that'll be coming in November. So it is important. The sooner we get the funding in place, the sooner we can get in the queue for that infrastructure need with Georgia Power, and they can get underway with delivering it.
So Director Nelson, you see the relation between C and E, it was a little bit.
Confusing.
Yeah.
Our apologies. It certainly wasn't our intention.
I have no problem.
Thank you, Dr. Ross.
Thank you for the questions, Dr. Robinson.
All right. We already had the first and the second.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Beverly's got to do the vote. Roll call vote. All right. Chairman, we have a motion made by Director Stone and seconded by Director Adams to approve consent items A through G. Now to the roll call vote. Director Odell,
Yes.
Director Stone,
Yes.
Director Lockett, Director Lockett, not present for the vote. Director Adams,
Yes.
Director Robinson,
Yes.
Director Leggett. We have Director Lockett and Director Leggett to join us virtual. Director Leggett, not present for the vote. Director Taylor
Yes.
and Chairman Cody.
Yes,
Chairman motion passed to approve today's consent items.
thank you. We have, next we have individual action items.
I have some questions about smart grant.
All right. We'll open it up to Mr. Bell. Director Bell.
Motion is second.
So wasn't the grant supposed to cover the operating cost? And if it's not covering the operating cost, when are we reapplying for it to ask for operating cost? And is the 25,836 the only amount that we're gonna have to take out of contingency? Or are we gonna need to take more out of contingency? And how will it affect the cost with FY 25?
So, I'm gonna try to remember all the questions. I may have to ask you to refresh me, okay, as I go through. I'm gonna give an overall explanation, and then if you'll ask me those individual questions, because I don't want to miss any of them.
Okay.
So in the SMART grant, when we applied for it, we applied for funding that would do 2 vehicles, that would outline the pilot program as we envisioned putting it forward. And we also took a portion of those funds and used it to underwrite operations costs, but staff costs. Because remember, it's a prototype program, so it's still considered a planning grant, a design grant, prototyping type grant. It's not a planning grant like a study, like a master transit plan. It's not that kind of planning grant, but it's a prototype design. So there has been a relief on the general fund for a number of positions, including my own, Ms. Cutter's, some of Dr. Manny's time, some of Planning's time. I was trying to remember what all positions that had what would have been general fund dollars or has been absorbed through the grant. Meanwhile, we put the pilot out there and the pilot has been incredibly successful. At the same time, we had conversations going on with the county because we enjoy the great fortune of the county funding paratransit countywide 100%. So the way that we would normally manage on-demand programs now that we've grown into that space, so you've got microtransit, you've got paratransit, and you got the CAT Connects program, the senior, what used to be sort of, it's not, I don't want to call it senior circulator because then that always gets it confused, but the CAT Connects program that was funded also as a pilot through the state grant. But each of those utilize on-demand operators. So initially what we were doing was managing the on-demand operators in a pool, even though the service itself is funded and we track those dollars discreetly and independently of each other. We have to, that's required. So how those programs are each funded is a separate thing. We never mix those funds up at all. But the operators themselves that you assign out, it's no different than when an operator may come in. We might switch an operator on a fixed route system. Somebody may come in and something may have happened, and so somebody's asked to take another route. It's that kind of a thing. So what happened was the county was not comfortable, county leadership was not comfortable with managing the workforce piece of it that way. So we said, okay, let us step back and we will we'll figure out how to rather than collaborate the manpower, person power, we'll figure out how to keep them all individual as well. And that's what we've been doing. to the, even, and we've also been doing things like on the Cat Smart Mobility app, there's a place for us to track whether you are a paratransit rider, and you're just using Cat Smart because 70-something% of our paratransit users are ambulatory, and they use fixed route, they use the ferries, they use paratransit, and they also use microtransit services. So, so we've done all that to make this independence, but then when we did that, we realized we're no longer able to have that flexibility, and we've got to have more operators because we can't meet the demand that the SMART grant is enjoying without more operators. So we went ahead, and in our FY25 budget, we looked at all on-demand operators, and that isn't, we looked at them by program, but we still looked at all on-demand operators. So we forecasted the demand then, but between now and June 30th, between now and July 1, we need to put more operators into Cat Smart in order to run that microtransit program and keep it operating at the peak that it can operate at. But we're trying to do that in a way to be mindful of what the county has asked of us, what the grant requires of us, and so forth and so on. So that's the explanation of, why this request is in there. It's only for a short period of time. It's to get us through June, and until the FY25 budget. And then in the FY25 budget, you have the opportunity to consider whether you want to have the operators of all kinds fixed, all on demand, including Para, Cat Smart, Cat Connects, whether you want to fund those and have those at a level to provide all those services.
I am really, really uncomfortable with splitting paratransit drivers with any other.
And we're not doing
Right.
that.
So, because I know we keep calling it on demand, but there's a prerequisite for paratransit, and it's more demand responsive than it is, somebody's gonna call this morning, they need a ride. They have prerequisite. So I too would like to keep paratransit drivers as paratransit drivers.
And we are working diligently to do that, and also to track those paratransit trips, Director Odell, because I think that's important too. Because you also want to know how many paratransit users are taking something other than traditional paratransit that they have to schedule so
Well,
far
it's
in advance.
important to track it because you got to bill.
Absolutely, and we're doing that.
So, okay.
And we,
So-
again, we even went to the point of making sure that in doing that, we put it in the app so that they check if they're a paratransit user, and we know, and we're tracking that information. And then we've been meeting with the county. We meet with the county manager and with Linda Kramer, but most recently with Linda Kramer, and we've been going over these so that they can see the performance of each of these things, but particularly the performance, on-time performance and so forth of paratransit.
Yeah, it's very important that we keep that separate. And so this 25,836 is just for a month,
It's for 5 operators.
for 1 month.
I think that's correct. Hang on a minute. Let me look at the number. I want to make sure before I say yes that I look at the number one more time.
It says for phase 1 of the SMART one.
Yeah, it's just, it would be just for 1 month.
Okay, so when we hit July 1st, the SMART grant will pick up this additional 25,836.
So there's a couple of things that could happen, and Ms. Cutter and I've talked through this. Either your FY25 budget has the funding for all operators, just like I just said to you. In FY25, something will pick up those costs. It could be the SMART grant if you went back and did an amendment to the SMART grant and like took the funds that had been absorbing other salaries, but it's like robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Right.
You either can fund the operators through that, or you can fund staff through that. And originally, because it was a planning prototyping design, we had put those that are involved directly in those activities under that. So in FY25, it will be funded through CAT, and it could be, if you wanted to do an amendment to the SMART grant, you could do that. That would be a lot of extra steps, but either way, it could either come out of the SMART grant with an amendment, or it can continue to come out of the CAT budget until such time. And that was the last question you asked. So it looks.
Are these 5 operators requested in FTEs in the new budget?
They are.
Okay.
They are also available FTEs now, as I understand it. Isn't that right, Dr. Meany? So the other thing too that I would mention, or I'm sorry, no, we're requesting the FTEs and the funding and then but they are already, yes, included in the FY25. The other thing is you asked the question, and I won't want to miss this one about, and so where does the funding come from moving forward?
Right.
So the NOFO should be coming out in August, for the, Smart Grant 2. We will be one of only 59 possible grantees for Smart Grant 2, because remember, you had to have been funded under the first round of Smart Grant 1 in order to get in Smart Grant 2. So you're going to have a really good competitive chance. And remember, our goal with that has been, what we've been targeting is to request 14 million. Again, it's 100% funding. How that's going to shake out in a budget, I have not worked on that, so I don't know yet, but 14 million, and the estimate for that came from looking at what would it take to run microtransit services in a more county, not necessarily countywide in the same exact way paratransit is, but similar, have it much more accessible throughout the county and run it for 3 years. And then that way, that gives you a 3-year runway for the ridership to be there, for people to enjoy the service, for them people to be able to work either with the city or the county, and others to say, we want to continue this service. Let's figure out how we're going to permanently fund it. But it gives you a good long runway there to work on that.
So the plan is to adjust microtransit so that it feeds more into fixed route.
No, it operates like it operates. It serves both para and fixed route trips, and it does feed fixed route. It is intended to help grow the health of the 8, especially those 8 most used fixed routes that was contained in our CAP Master Transit Plan. And if you go back and look at the Master Transit Plan as well, the use of microtransit and how it helps build the system was described throughout that Master Transit Plan.
Right, but one of the reasons we asked for microtransit was to service those areas in the unincorporated area.
Right.
Like out on 204.
Yes, ma'am.
Where the bus was only picking up 1 or 2 people.
Right.
And to feed those people from that area
I got
into the bus route so they can pick up.
I understand your question now. So yes, that is true. And in FY25, one of the things that you'll see is, remember, the first pilot zone we did was this one in East Savannah.
Right.
And we did that primarily because of the equity component of it and the demonstration with the tiny village for unhomed veterans.
Right.
Because that really helped make a very robust and competitive use case for the $14 million application. But with the FY25 budget, the plan is to go ahead and expand the other 2 West Chatham area where you're right, the fixed route service doesn't have the same ridership, but it's especially in those areas to connect people to jobs, to workforce development, to shopping, essential shopping, and that kind of thing.
Okay, so we requested for the budget workshop for them to go through the process of the job requisitions for the new FTEs. So Dr. Manny, if he can do that justification so that we can add that to the operating, because we'll need to add that 25,836 to every month for FY25.
I think it's already in there, Director Odell. That's what I was saying, is these 5 positions are already included in all of those new positions that you saw. The only place we need them in is in June, because we don't have them right now. We need them right now to carry us up to July 1. And then if you approve the budget as it has been presented, these positions are in there moving forward.
Okay.
If I may, I guess simplistically for me,
Yes, ma'am.
the $14 million that came from the Smart Grant for 2024.
No, there's no $14 million. We've not applied for that.
So the $14 million will be applied for later?
You'll apply for it.
You mentioned 14 million.
It would be applied for competitively in August. And the amount would be something that the planning staff and you all would work on determining, but that was originally what we had forecasted. So you would determine how to apply for that when the NOFO comes out in August.
Okay, so the 2024, the original Smart Grant one.
Yes, ma'am.
How much money was that?
1.2 million.
Say that again.
1.2 million.
So the 1.2 million has all been spent for the smart grant. That's why we're going into contingency. Is that what we said? I want it as simple as possible.
Yes,
So the smart grant money has been exhausted.
yes, it's fully committed, exhausted. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's still time left on the grant, but those funds are fully committed to other cost centers that were in the budget for that grant.
And the reason why I have an issue with this one is because, when we hear the report from the CFO by the contingency fund, how important it is not to touch the money, to keep it there, but now we actually go into it because we underestimated the cost when we submitted the smart grant.
We didn't underestimate the cost, but what we did perhaps underestimate a bit is the amount of demand we were going to get. It's just been much more successful. It's a really, Dr. Maney, you might talk a little bit about the amount of demand we've had for that, and you and Mary has been really quite exceptional.
But before we do that, because I guess what I'm asking was, because it was a pilot program to start, am I correct?
It is still a pilot
It's a
program.
pilot program. So as we evaluate these pilot programs, it should be, the change should come later on. So that we don't have to spend additional money. The other part of my concern has to do with, even if we approve these 5 FTEs, we have problems hiring drivers as it is. So where are these drivers gonna come from?
We're going to have to recruit and try to hire.
And so in the interim, if we don't hire the people, then the pilot program is not gonna be working.
When I will say this, we have a much easier time hiring these operators because it doesn't require CDL.
Right, but what I'm saying is, but we still have a problem hiring. So my question is,
Then it means we would just have to keep providing at a reduced level of service. We'll have to just constrain the service that we can provide to the amount of manpower that we have.
because I think I wanna go back what Director Bell was insisting is that we don't take our paratransit drivers. Because I don't see this right now being anything we can do, simply because if we're not hiring drivers now, and we ask for additional FTEs, which is okay, but where are you gonna get the people from?
Right.
And the service is not gonna be what we say it's gonna be, because we don't have the drivers to do it. I have a real concern about all of this, because somehow we gotta know as a board.
Yeah.
I mean, what's really happening?
No, I understand. And I completely agree with you. And I understand, we've been working every day since the meetings with the county with their concerns about paratransit operators to make sure that we were keeping those completely separate. I think as a matter of fact, we were having conversations over this past weekend where we had a particular day, we were figuring out how many paratransit operators, how many unscheduled trips did we have? What was going on with Cat Connect? What was going on with Cat Smart? And we have dialed back some of the service and so forth to make sure that we could manage it within what we had available. But we're looking at this is to help us address the kind of demand that we're seeing. And I think it's just a decision you have to make. I don't know that I can offer you any other assurance than that, other than to tell you, we've been aware, we understand that what we were originally doing to pool the drivers does not meet the expectations of the county, and we want to do that. And it has taken us a while, though, to work through the steps to get there, because originally, because we were managing more as a pool, we couldn't just turn it off immediately. We were having to work through it, but we were keeping the county engaged in what we were doing and when.
To ask the board to approve 5 FTEs for operators and take money from our contingency to do it. There's just too many unknowns. I mean, I don't know how you guys are gonna answer my question, because I need to know. I mean, if we do this, we got the money, but we don't have the people.
Well, they're not gonna be able to spend the money if they don't get the people. We're basically putting 25,836 in the pot, but if they don't hire anybody for that month, then it won't get used.
Well, as protective as this money will begin from the CFO for the contingency fund. And we're pulling out this money out of that particular pocket of money to take care of what I thought was a fully funded grant. Is the issue for me.
But this was her recommendation. I'm sorry, Ms. Cutter wasn't able to join us today, but this this method or whatever of moving forward with these 5 FTEs was her recommendation.
So the 1.2 million that initially went to microtransit, they forgot to fund the operation. So it went to the management staff that was involved, but not the operator.
Originally, the reason we originally did it that way, and that's a very good question, Danya. The reason we originally did it that way is again, because of the type of grant that it is. It was and I just described that to you earlier. It was a prototype, planning type grant. And so what we were doing was we were funding the people that were going to be working on it sort of day to day. And we assumed at that time that the operators that we had would be able to cover the pilot situation. I just don't think we ever anticipated the amount of demand that we would see and so forth. And then, like I said, we also thought we could manage it within this sort of group of on-demand operators. And then that was something that the county really didn't support. And so we've had to really work hard to adjust back from that.
So I knew that parents understand when we did get the grant, we should have put the operators to drive what you need in the budget before management staff, even though they're working on it. If we don't have the people to go out there and pay them to get on there, then we drop the ball. Management dropped the ball.
I agree with you.
Okay,
But I
now that we've given these people, we pulled them from paratransit, given them tax connect, given them microtransit. Now management is asking that we go back and snatch these people money to put them back on paratransit. Like we have to do that as part of management and union, because they're stating that they don't want paratransit bothers those operators. So now we're gonna have to figure something out. We can't go back and forth like this.
Well, I think the other option, which is the other one I suggested to you, is that we can go back, and I think in part what you stated is correct. I think one of the things we could do is we can go back and do an amendment to the SMART grant itself and allocate those dollars away from staff positions, which means it'll roll over onto where it would have been in the general fund budget anyway for any of those positions that were funded in part, little pieces of it. We can just roll that back off and put that over to nothing but operators.
I have a question about the training. Now, a microtransit bus and a paratransit bus is the same, right?
It's not exactly, but essentially I mean, neither of them require a CDL.
Right. So my thing is, if you're gonna take paratransit drivers from paratransit and bring them over to microtransit, how much training do they need?
Well, we're not doing that though. But the county has very specifically told us not to take paratransit operators, and we have gone back and have nearly completed separating those things out per their request.
So
And
there's no
tracking.
paratransit driver right now.
I think
That's a microtransit driver.
I think there may still be one that is overlapping in that one. We're still trying to go ahead and get it fully over.
Yeah, what I'm getting at is, we spend a whole bunch of money on training for people who didn't need to be trained. They came from paratransit over to microtransit.
Well, no, the microtransit training is different. I apologize. Now I understand what you're asking about. The paratransit, it's not the operation of the vehicle training piece. It's the operation of the app. There's a technology piece, because remember, this is just like Uber and Lyft, and the way that the app sees and assigns the riders, the operator is a part of how that is handled. So the training for the operators was training on the app and the technology behind it, not on the operation of the vehicle per se, not the vehicle itself. It was on the app, which is very different from paratransit.
So on the microtransit side right now, we're saying we only have one paratransit driver, everybody else is new.
No, I don't have those numbers in front of me to tell you who's just the microtransit. I just don't have it in front of me, but I can get that for you, Director Taylor.
Let me ask a question. For paratransit, are we fully staffed? That's a yes or no.
No, if I'm the answer.
Please.
Right now, we have 4 vacancies.
Okay, so for paratransit, we're not fully staffed. We need four individuals to staff paratransit.
As of
Oh,
now, yes.
okay, based on what Rector Odell said from the very beginning, from what I'm understanding, is what I'm hearing, is every paratransit driver is driving paratransit vehicles.
Well, if I'm the answer, the vehicles are at the same time.
No, that's not what I'm asking, that's not what I'm asking. What I'm asking.
It's really by service, it's not by vehicle.
Okay, because what we're talking about, I'm talking about a smart grant, that you're asking for 5 additional drivers. Am I correct? So what I'm asking is, and based on what Director Odell requested, is to make certain that we're not pulling paratransit drivers to take care of smart grant vehicles, whatever they are.
Well, let me share this data with you. So we have 3 paratransit driving down on workers' comp.
That's on what?
Workers' comp.
They're out.
Yeah,
Okay,
we have 2 down on medical leave, that's fine.
you got 5.
We have 1 that is also training any new hires. Remember that our training department is not fully staffed. So I took 2 first one drivers with training CDL. I took 1 for paratransit that is training on anybody that could hire today. This has been going on for almost a year now.
So that's 6.
That's 6. So out of the 42, now, if you also have 4 vacancies, okay, people that separated the last thing. Take 10 out from 42. Now we have 52.
But you need 42
We
drivers.
need 42 drivers. What we have been successful, or I would say, a subtype to 36. We've been successful with 36. That is having extra ball. But now we are very, like I said, we do add it all up, we have a 32. So that's not enough. We will sustain our content.
Okay, so you do 2 to 3 weeks of training for one of those drivers?
Yes, we do for our class.
Okay, so in all honesty, Gertrude, this 25,836 is not gonna come into play because we already at the end of May.
Right.
It takes 3 weeks to train somebody. It'll be July before these people are on board. It's not, this month, it's not gonna matter.
This is crazy.
Because they don't have anybody in the pipeline yet. I don't think this 25,836 is even gonna be used. Am
Well,
I wrong or are you gonna use it?
you're right, but then again, you have to understand that this is Nancy Bills.
Right, but you don't have anybody in the pipeline yet. So even if you hire somebody next week, they won't be ready to drive until the end of June, 1st of July.
So are we suspending the microtransit pilot program? Are we currently suspending the pilot program? I guess that's.
I don't think that's what they're doing.
Doing that, so they're trying
I
to,
think they're reducing service.
so if I may explain, this baby, no matter.
Please.
So what we're trying to do now is, instead of 5 paratransit drivers, for microtransit, 5 microtransit drivers, Monday to Sunday, we're gonna downsize that to 2. Because this is, after all, this is a power program. We don't need that 5, having 5 people sitting here and.
But who are these drivers though? Again, are you pulling them from paratransit? I don't care what you do, if you
They
downsize,
don't exist.
yeah.
Right, they're gonna hire them. So really, we could leave individual action item A to the next budget workshop
But that's,
because they don't exist.
that was part of the email that I requested.
Yeah, they don't exist.
Okay.
They don't exist. Paratransit is understaffed.
Yes.
So they don't exist.
So we're gonna table it for the next budget workshop.
That's what
I mean, that would be the easiest thing to do.
Then
And
again,
then, y'all can, that wouldn't prevent you from recruiting them. You could still,
right.
recruit them.
Yeah, we still need to pass this so we can post the position.
Yeah, we can't recruit without posting positions.
So we
No,
need
but
to.
we need to approve it today to fund it.
yeah, what's the process?
Okay.
If you table it, we can't recruit.
But So if you got 5 people wanting to come, you're not gonna put them on paratransit. Which you already have 10 vacancies. That's what I don't understand.
You gotta hire paratransit.
I'm saying, I don't, that's what I'm saying.
If you got 10 vacancies.
Probably take this bullet. Okay, so,
No, it's not a bullet.
no, I'm saying bullet for me because I have to explain to the board, very transparent and very truthful, what's going on.
Okay, but let's back up a little bit, because it's not a bullet. I need to understand. Nobody's taking a bullet, okay? I need to understand if we're understaffed
By 10.
by 10, and we're asked for 5 additional FTEs, which is 15, and we're gonna take this money and we're gonna disregard paratransit, because based on what planning just said, we gotta advertise. So we're advertising for this. But we're advertising, well, my point is that you can't advertise for this without filling paratransit slots first.
Okay, so what I want the board to understand is that the same recruitment is for all. That if you had 10 on-demand drivers, it's all cross-trained to do the same thing. It's not a special license for microtransit or for paratransit. They are all non-CDL, the same vehicle type. The only difference is if you put somebody at microtransit, you have to train them how to use the app. And that's the fact. The wheelchair, all these vehicles are equipped with wheelchairs, the same training. If I train 5 people, if we hire 5, let's say we need 10, we got all the 10 in. And then after training, I decide I want 3 or 5 to go to microtransit. The only difference is they have to learn how to use the app. Everything else.
That's what we're saying, we don't want that to happen. We want you to fully staff paratransit, keep paratransit fully staffed, and don't take nobody from paratransit. It's what I think planning is trying to hire 5 drivers specifically
Off the street.
for micro. That's all we're saying. So you really, we should be recruiting for 15 drivers.
And that's ongoing, as we speak now.
So we understand all the training and how it differs and the apps, we clear on all of that.
I think that's a really good point, and I want to make one, and I think it's part of what Dr. Manny's saying, it's part of the question you're asking. You're absolutely correct. We have the vacancies, though, to be able to post and recruit for paratransit right now. Those exist.
Right.
That's still
And they're
ongoing.
funded, they're ready. So we can still keep recruiting. We could fill all those right now, and they would be filled first because they are authorized and we can recruit for them right now. The
Yeah.
5 for microtransit and back to keeping that separate, right? Which is, I understand what Dr. Manny was saying, but the county has told us that they don't support that, and we're not doing that.
Right.
And that was part of the reason for making this ask, is so it could be a separate recruitment. These people would be recruited specifically for microtransit, and they would be used exclusively for microtransit, just like those other 10 positions that are available right now for paratransit drivers can continue to be recruited and put into place only on paratransit right now.
So let me ask you this.
Yes, ma'am.
If you're advertising 10 positions for paratransit.
Yes, ma'am.
You're advertising 5 for microtransit.
That'd be 15 total.
Right, but my question is, if you send the applicant can choose whether they want you're part of the 10 or part of the 5, because it's 2 separate. Am I correct?
There's 2 separate recruitments, and they would apply for one or the other, or they could apply for both and only be selected under one or the
Right.
other. But in order to keep that distinction of resources, as we've been requested to do, we would not hire them in both.
Right, so let's say, for example, because I heard something over here that was a little disturbing too, because when we hired somebody for microtransit initially, they had a certain training, a certain schedule.
Well, and we have Cat Connects
was that-
mixed into this
was that-
too. Microtransit.
No, it was Cat Connect that had a certain, you think
Right.
about that, yeah, it was Cat Connect that had a certain day and a certain hour.
Right, and so.
And those people lost those spots because the drivers went back and bid on them. So now those people don't have those slots anymore. because they didn't have seniority. That's a whole other basket of worms.
But my question again is then, so the folk who bid were paratransit drivers who now have.
No, they were Cat Connect.
No, what happened was, there were paratransit operators.
That's what I
Train became and Cat Connect, the Cat Connect, which used to be fully circulated, was under fixed route. So when they moved it to under on demand, which was para division, that caused the operators that they hired, they were not unionized, and you can't do that, that's the breaking of the contract. So they had to go back and let all of the paratransit operators bid for Cat Connect or microtransit. So when we signed that agreement with the CEO and COO, that put all of them under.
Right, but the complaints that we got came from Cat Connect drivers who had fixed schedules and lost them.
But see, they had no seniority.
New hire, right.
Yeah, they were new hires.
Right, but the problem was, they were hired under a certain understanding. And that, well, I don't wanna say pretense, but understanding. And they set their lives around that understanding. And then they basically lost the job. So those were the complaints that you're thinking about that we received. But those are separate. Those are separate from the other paratransit issues. Because those people were like 9 to 5, Monday through Friday on Cat Connect. That's gone. They don't get that no more.
What I thought I heard was that all of that caused paratransit drivers who wanted a better senior person, who wanted a better shift.
They took
advantage.
They took the Cat Connect job.
Right, so, but
Because they were Monday through Friday.
right, right, but in order to make sure that paratransit stays fully staffed, these folks have to go back. Is what I'm hearing, to paratransit.
Okay, if I may explain that, what the president
But-
said.
But the complaints were for Cat Connect.
Right, but now we got a whole nother.
That's another issue.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
So we got like 3 baskets of issues.
I mean, I think the only way to actually resolve this is you have the paratransit division that's ran by the county. They have their own budget, they put into the paratransit. Calling this thing on demand, that's where the confusion comes in at, and in order to have those Cat Connect drivers that they hired, retain those schedules, that have to be another whole separate division. You talking about creating a whole other division, that's the only way that they can keep their jobs in their seniority, because that's a whole other division.
But they don't have seniority. That's
Okay,
why they lost the job.
So this is what we all missing out. You all remember that we came to the board and said that we want to put all of them under one demand call on-demand services.
Yeah, but everybody didn't agree to that.
Well, I think the board approved that. Right?
I
It
mean,
was an agreement.
you might have got a majority.
Yeah, but.
Oh, okay, well.
Yeah,
so-
because
Exactly.
paratransit is demand responsive. We keep calling it on demand. But technically, it's demand responsive. And you have to meet a prerequisite to be paratransit. And most of the time, people use paratransit because they got appointments and they schedule them in advance. That's really not on demand, where you get up this morning and say, I wanna go grocery shopping, and you come get me, and I just plan, because I just wanna do that today, because I feel like moving around. That's really
That's like
different.
the
I think,
Really different.
I think
Paratransit is scheduled.
one thing,
Yes.
I think that's all true. One thing I think is really important to recognize, and I do, think that the, service growth that we've seen, both in, paratransit, fixed route, on demand, including paratransit and special services like, Cat Connect. We have had some bumps, unfortunate bumps on the operation side of this, in terms of the staffing and the operators and so forth. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you anything other than that, because that's the truth. I also think that we have been working diligently, both in agreements with the union side agreements or conversations otherwise. We've also been working diligently as a team inside with planning, operations, finance, and myself to clarify those bumps and to smooth out that confusion and to work to meet the county's expectations and so forth. I think it's going to take us a little bit. And when I say a little bit, I think it's going to take us another few months to just smooth all that out and get everything in the right lane. As the way I keep thinking of it in my mind is getting it in certain lanes so that it moves forward in a certain way.
Yeah.
So I think that it is I think the confidence that you should have, and I can understand why your confidence is a little challenged right now. I think the confidence you should have is that we do have remedies moving forward. We are having conversations with everyone. We do recognize that we hit some bumps because of how the operations planning side of this, we missed some things in terms of both how much demand there would be and some of the expectations that are nothing wrong with them, but some of the unique expectations that we have in our community about how we should manage some of these things uniquely and so forth. So it is my hope that the board will give us the grace today to move forward with this so that we can continue to get those lanes created, get that clarity of each of these services, whether you want to call them on demand or demand responsive or whatever. But to get the clarity of that and get this all smoothed out so that we're moving forward effectively and in full transparency of everyone, including our union partners. So I don't know what much more that I could say about it than that.
Yeah, and that's very understandable, you know, and I think that having designated lanes is important because paratransit is mandated. On demand is optional. So, you know, I think that our focus should really be to make sure that we get paratransit just with as minimum issue as possible.
And please don't forget in that you have a significant portion of your paratransit qualified users, paratransit qualified customers who are taking advantage of CAT Connect and microtransit, CAT Smart. They are taking advantage of those services because it enables them more independence, more flexibility, and so forth. And we don't want to ignore that either. I think we want to build it all.
Scheduled, especially scheduled doctor visits. We gotta make sure that these scheduled doctor visits are maintained. We don't want to be on TV because somebody missed dialysis.
I completely agree with you, Director Odell. And one of the things that we've been doing almost every day now, well, every day anyway, I always look and see when the manifest comes through of how many scheduled, how many unscheduled, you know, how are we working on that? They know every night, every morning, I'll say, okay, what are we doing for the 5 that are unscheduled? What are we doing for the 3? What are we doing for the 14? And we'll go and meet with our folks to determine what that is. Then I make sure that the county knows. If we have a day where we've got it at 0, we all have a big hurrah.
Right.
If we have a day that we have 2 or 3, but we've got 157 scheduled or whatever, I mean, those are the kinds of numbers that we're looking at.
Right.
And we are able to explain there's either been an operator call out or somebody wasn't able to work that day, whatever it might be. But we have been aggressively staying on top of that stuff. And so again, what I would ask is that I think we've explained it transparently and fully to you. I think you understand some of the challenge that we've had. And so I would ask you to please consider this action item.
Dr. Robinson, and then I have Vice.
I just want to add this to the record. My team will be so disappointed if I don't say this. We work diligently to the best of our ability. I won't say this is a blame on operations. We were just acting on what was directed to us. So it wasn't like the operation department dropped the ball. Now, we did everything that was required. The grant was, I mean, whatever the grant came out with, we found out that we can hire drivers. At that point, we cannot let my project go. We have to do whatever it takes to make
Well,
that happen.
I hope my earlier comment was not intended to say operations drop the ball. It was to talk about the function of operations and planning. It wasn't directed towards operations or towards planning, Dr. Maney. It was directed towards our operations planning function, which we're all involved in. I named us all off. We didn't do everything that we needed to do. We had some hiccups here.
I have one question when it comes to the hiring people of drivers, whether it's the 5 or the 10. You have the
Thank you.
you have the same bidding process, right? If you hired 5 people, say they wanted to micro transit, wouldn't you still have to take it back to the union? For the union to, or whoever wants to bid on those 5 new jobs?
It would either go in a regular bid cycle, or it would go, and what do we call them, Danya, when we do the extra, it's not extra board. Regular board, but what is the one when we do them off when it's not a regular bid?
Oh, like a fund or fill up.
A fill up.
So.
Thank you.
So if you did that and the person actually out of the 15 decide they want to go with 5, then the paratransit driver can bump or whatever for that 5th position, right? So then we'd be losing the paratransit driver, wouldn't we?
We're short 10 already.
Right.
So I think what we're saying is, we understand that this is an extreme challenge. We want any drivers that are currently paratransit qualified to be moved back into paratransit. If that means that we have to reduce something on microtransit, I think that we're willing to reduce something on microtransit until you're able to get staffed so that paratransit can flow the way that it needs to go, because that is the most critical area that we have with respect to the community.
And Director Odell, we've already done exactly what you just described. We have already done that.
Okay.
You have a fine agreement with the union on the micro transit. You put on TV, you support everything with micro transit, and you have a signed letter that is notified that you have this many paratransit position, this many micro transit, this many Cat Connect, and you afforded the people come from paratransit to micro transit and Cat Connect, which they chose. So the 9 people now that are over 5 micro transit, 4 Cat Connect that are not a para, so now para is short staff. Okay, now we're putting we want to take those people back around the union and the signed agreement back to para, which is not at the fault of us. But now those positions will be totally empty. So now you need to hire people for those positions. If you are going to pull them back over, you need to go ahead and bring the people in. Because now you're not giving them an option. You're violating people that been here 20 and 30 years.
What we're glad to do is get with you. Dr. Maney can get with you after this, and we can make sure if there's still any outstanding concerns. It sounds like there may be with the side agreements, then those things can be discussed outside of this.
I mean, at this point, basically, what happened, tax mod is getting numbers, is extremely growing. So now we're gonna reduce the service where people is actually using it. The whole problem in a nutshell is it never should have been included with paratransit, seemed to me, because there was never no agreement with the county. So.
But we can't go back.
Yeah, you can't go back now. So I mean, it should have been either a separate entity or it should have been a part of fixed route. Because initially, that's what it's doing. If I stay in Coffee Bluff and the bus don't come at Coffee Bluff, but I want to go catch the Evercorn in that particular zone, I can go and download, I can go from Coffee Bluff to get to the feeder line. That's the initial thing that the micro transit was supposed to do, but then they're doing something else. So that's what all the conclusion of the problem.
What microtransit is not, though, just to connect to fixed route. It does do part of that, but microtransit is also to take people within a zone. It's a zonal service, which means it could take people just as a trip within that zone. And we've had people, especially in this East Savannah zone, that have used it for their shopping trip, their in lieu of, anything else. That there wasn't fixed route to take them there, and they either were paratransit, but this was more convenient, or they weren't paratransit and it was convenient. So we've had, there's lots of different, it's not as simple as what's being described. So
As long as you're within a same zip code, we can go short day.
No, it's within a zone, and the zones are defined by ridership.
Because if I was
Areas.
to go from my house to here on microtransit, I couldn't do it because I live on the south side and this is the east side, so I would have to take microtransit to the nearest bus stop
Exactly.
and then get the bus to here.
That's exactly right. If you wanted to use that service.
Can I make a motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Table this item.
Yeah, I would like to make the motion.
Well, now, if we, hold on,
Yeah,
If
well, I
you
mean,
table-
you have to vote me up or down, listen to me, everybody's gotta vote.
I know, but if you table it, then they can't recruit.
Right.
But just because but them recruiting does not mean this money's gonna be used, cause it's not.
Okay, fine.
And we're talking about this item is only a 30-day item.
Right. All I'm asking is, I wanna make a recommendation, I wanna make a motion that we table this until our next budget workshop.
Then we can't recruit.
You guys can vote it down. I'm okay with that. But I just wanna go on record that I'd like to have this thing.
We need a second.
I second.
We do a roll call vote.
Can I go down?
No.
No, Mr. Funk, name.
No, yeah.
Director Stone,
No.
Director Lockett. Not present for the vote. Director Adams,
No.
Director Robinson,
Yes.
Director Leggett. Not present for the vote. Director Taylor
Yes.
and Chairman Cody.
No.
That motion failed.
We
To
do
table
have
that item.
Director Leggett, what do we have?
Director Leggett, he's not available for the vote. It failed.
Well,
So you're gonna recruit for this position. And this item was to cover it from now until June 30th.
Funding needed, because we can't, without the funding authorized, we can't do the recruit.
Right. And at June 30th, it goes back into the pool.
On June 30th,
Those-
it'll show up as a carryover into FY 25 if you approve it in that FY 25 budget.
If we approve the FY 25.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Well, we need to finish, we finish this.
yes.
No, I think he got another comment on it.
No, I'm just saying, I just want to make sure that the audit is clear, that this will vote it down and we move it on.
Mhm.
Okay.
So the motion was to table the item and the votes for voting it up or down. The down votes, voting it up was Dr. Robinson and Director Taylor. Down was Director Odell, Stone, Adams, and Chairman Cody. 4.
So Dr. Manning, for the budget workshop, you got to define your job positions to make sure that they're clear when we go through them. Because we talked about that last budget workshop to make the request and then the justification and outline the salaries, so we're clear.
That's for each position description is what
Right.
I asked for.
Okay. For my department.
Thank you.
Is that
For each
right?
position description is high.
For my
Yeah,
department, is that correct?
That's
Oh.
correct.
we asked that for all the departments.
Departments, okay.
To do, to fill the job request, the job description. And to justify explaining that you needed to do this, that, or the other. And then the salary information for each job.
And then we'll need a motion for them on what we're gonna do for item 5A.
5A. Need a motion in the second.
What do we need to
You're, you need to approve it.
Okay, well, you need a motion for that?
Yeah.
I'll make the motion to approve.
One second.
These are all individual items.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion made by Director Stone and seconded by Director Odell. Roll call vote, Director Odell,
Yes.
Director Stone,
Yes.
Director Lockett. Not present for the vote. I really think they're on. Okay, Director Lockett not present for the vote. Director Adams,
Yes.
Director Robinson,
No.
Director Leggett. Director Leggett. Not present for the vote. Director Taylor,
Yeah.
and Chairman Cody.
Yeah.
Chairman motion passed to approve item 5A.
Thank you. Next, we have, 5B. Do we have any action required?
Now I have a question. Cause I'm so confused as to where we are on the renovations. Did we agree not to make that big thing? Where it was the big meeting hall? Are we putting more offices in? Did we readjust it so that we can get more people? What did we do for the 39.5?
We're doing exactly what the, excuse me, sorry. We are doing exactly what the board requested. We got a lot of good input from Dr. Robinson and from, and from Director Edminster. And I thought it was in this packet and I apologize, my book was put together this morning and I can't find the tab for that one. But there should be a drawing in there and it looks exactly like what the board had requested it to look like. But in doing that, we had to do a change order because we had already, the contract to do the work originally was complete. So this is an increased amount to account for that additional design work that's got to be done and also to approve.
Bring the picture up.
Yes, ma'am.
I even questioned the amount.
To it, if Beverly can bring the picture up, I'll show you something. But that's we actually got them to reduce the amount. Oh, it was higher.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we got them to bring it down.
Okay.
If I recall correctly, and I may be wrong, so don't quote me on this, but I think we got them to drop it by about 15,000.
Okay.
Okay, so, remember what you asked for before. So that security station, that's where it is now. Now you're gonna have the call center, the new security station, and additional storage area here. From
Okay.
here back is Greyhound.
Okay.
And you saw the Greyhound lease earlier
Yes.
today, taking forever, but we got that done. Okay, the lobby area, as was the request of the board, is really dedicated exclusively to the riders.
Okay.
So there's a lot more seating there, there's more amenities, all those kinds of things.
Okay.
And it's really for the riders and an update to those bathrooms because the bathrooms need it badly, as you know. Then the current boardroom, you can see here, you know, there's an extra CEO office out there. I've always stayed here because then you're close to the operators. When I go down there, I'm out on the platform anyway, greeting people. So we're going to take that CEO's office and expand that room down there that's not really big enough to be a boardroom.
Right.
That becomes your boardroom. And then you've got the same area. You've still got these offices here. And then we'll lose a bit of office space in there, but that's part of what.
We're gonna use cubicle space or office space?
I think you've got offices here and then you've got cubicles in this area.
So we're probably losing some cubicle space because we expanded the.
A little bit, but we.
Another
drawing that he shows that, there's another drawing, isn't it? I think there was two.
There
Is that it? I thought there were two.
I thought that there was another one too.
Yeah, I thought there was two attached to our agenda packet.
Let's see. Really.
Well, this is the one that Pond, because Salton. is
Yeah, I know,
going
but
to
I
be
thought that they
off-
gave us another one that was all finished
Right.
looking, Bill.
There was two attached, there were two drawings.
One
We
that I
can
printed. Was it the
we
one
can
that-
mail that out to the board after this meeting, but
Okay.
essentially it doesn't look different than this. This is responsive. You wanted this space to really serve the public. You wanted some space to be able to accommodate yourselves there. You wanted to make sure that we maintain some office space for us back here, or admin employee space and such. And then we'll have a new security station here that'll be equipped much more effectively with cameras and so forth for our security staff. And then the call center goes over here, which gets them out of just being in this sort of big area down on this end.
Now, I did want to ask one more thing. Do we have vending machines in there all or no?
I think there's still vending machines down there. I know that there are vending machines back here in our regular area, but I'm trying to remember, is there a vending machine out? Okay. I think we're gonna try to do something nicer with that. So anyway, and then the fee it's simply for additional work performed legitimately. So
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because, I think in negotiations, I thought 30,000 was kind of, even on the that they print, what they said they were charging us for.
right.
I thought, but you said it was much more than that, so I guess I'm not okay.
No, and so what this does is now what they'll do is they'll turn around now with your approval that yes, this is good, is they'll produce a bid ready set of plans that we can put this out to bid.
100 years ago, y'all remember there used to be a cafeteria with, yeah, so.
Well, and then,
Vending machines would be great.
and then we're coordinating with Greyhound to make sure that, when they do their renovations on their side, that we're accommodating them. And then I think, I don't think it's on this agenda, but the Pink House, will be coming back before you as well.
So when Graham is doing their renovation, they won't be doing it in conjunction with CAT and just done separately, but that would.
It won't interfere. We've agreed how we can work together to absolutely.
Because there were two drawings sent to us.
I thought so too. I just don't, and I apologize,
But it's okay, if you guys saw it, you need to see.
It's not attached to the packet. It's an email,
there's one though that it's just a crisp looking drawing of it.
It's okay. It's okay.
But no, we talked them down when they came in with their original, what it was gonna cost to do the redesign, we went. So we negotiated and got it down by, like I said, it's $15,000, something like that.
So do we need a motion for that?
You did, these are all individual action items.
And then I'll make the motion for approval.
Oh, second.
Evelyn, roll call, please.
Director Odell,
Yes.
Director Stone,
Yes.
Director Lockett, not present for the vote, Director Adams,
Yes.
Director Robinson,
Yes.
Director Leggett, not present for the vote, Director Taylor,
Yes.
and Chairman Cody.
Yes.
I just want to ask one question though, if they're both on, Ms. Dumas,
Yes.
what is technology we need to help you bring them in if they're not coming in?
Well, they are on, I can see their names, I'm not sure if they stepped away during the vote.
But but they've been stepped away for a while.
Yes, yes.
So they're probably not going to tell us.
They're having lunch.
Yeah, but I mean, can technology tell us if there's a problem on our end or if they're just not there?
Well,
I think that's important.
yes, that is true. I agree, Dr. Robinson. I'll check and see.
And I hate that you have to do this multitasking, it should be somebody here to help us with technology issues.
So we're on C now.
Yes.
So I would like to say one thing about C. I would hope that you're providing employees somebody to help them walk through this myriad of issues when the formularies are different. Because that is a very difficult process and the average person can't walk this through alone. So I'm hoping that our benefits person is helping them.
We will do that. I think you heard Jessica say earlier that they actually brought in the folks that do that stuff to help during enrollment. But I hear, there's some recurring things
Yes.
there. So I think what we can do is make a request that they're brought back just to continue to help, maybe do some one-on-one meetings with employees that have issues and try to help them solve for
But our
those.
HR should be able to do some minimal help with them.
Yeah.
Whoever our benefits person is, because it's very difficult walking through that process that UHC has to get a drug approved.
Understand?
Especially if it's something that you've been on a long time and they decide you can't take it anymore, that's the process.
But you know, you can also, as part of our, whatever we offer to our employees, there are people within our community who handle different types of insurances that can talk about even, Medicare, Medicaid.
But most of that is
retirement.
Medicaid, Medicare, is not private insurance.
Right, but I'm just saying, but even if, some folks don't even know what happens, you know, when you transition from one to the other, or what happens when you lose a certain, policy and get a new one. And I think we can find people other than certain, whatever, to, I think, come in and speak to them.
I think I would like to ask, let us ask Sterling Seacrest to provide some additional support there. And the reason I say that is because Sterling Seacrest is our broker. And they are responsible for what we are getting and what we're enrolling in. And so rather than run the risk of somebody outside of that explaining something in a way that ends up not being exactly correct, I would rather ask them for extra support.
Yeah.
And on both the resolving issues and just on general, making
Yeah.
sure everybody understands things.
And I
So
think-
we'll do that.
And I think the collaboration with the union, if she hears something or somebody hears something that somebody's questioning, then bring that forward so that we can make sure we ask them the right questions, the right answers.
Right.
You know, to be sure that.
Did, Jessica outside actually, international, she said that they will be sure because they heard our request to have on site and additional people to help.
Right.
Each person get the matter.
Very good.
So. The legal plan, I was looking at that, that's new, we didn't have that last year.
It is, but remember, it's voluntary. And so no one has to pay for that. If two people subscribe to it, I think it's what she told us was the threshold. If they want to have that available to them, it's just to try to give something extra to the employees, but it's one that they would have to choose if they need and want it. It doesn't bind everyone. And then we will still continue to do what we've been doing with Andrew's firm to do just standard wills and powers of attorney, just to help people with that kind of service twice a year.
Okay, Beverly, will you print the legal plan for me, the proposal?
It provides a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I really couldn't get it open. right?
As she said, it's almost everything except DUIs.
Yeah,
but-
I'd like to see it. please.
Yeah.
And I just want to encourage, staff to be able to present to us some data on who's really taking advantage of your wellness programs and all these wonderful issues and incentives. That I think that somehow we gotta know that our operators are.
Know that these things are available.
Yeah, and that they're, and that would make it accessible, you know, if they're on a different shift, then because you do it at 7 in the morning, what about somebody who comes on later or gets off later? So I think we need to have some way to rotate people who are.
I made a note when you said that, and I'll make sure that I pass that along to the appropriate assignment.
Because Fresh Fruit Fridays was successful at first, is it still?
Oh, absolutely.
popular?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And then the lunch and learns where they do just all kinds of fun activities and such, that everybody loves those things. And then we still have, we're still promoting other kinds of mental health, wellness, work as well. So,
So did we ever find out if the vegetable truck can come add us to, as one of their stops?
I don't know that.
Motion.
C, 5, you know,
5C.
5C. And say, well. 5C.
We have a second. Right.
I'll make the second.
Beverly.
I'll do a roll call vote. Do I go down? Do I go down?
Yes.
Director Stone,
Yes.
Director Lockett, not present for the vote, Director Adams,
Yes.
Director Robinson,
Yes.
Director Leggett,
Yes.
thank you, Director Taylor,
Yeah.
and Chairman Cody.
Yes,
Chairman, motion passed to approve item 5C.
thank you. Before we go into our executive director
No, we've
report.
got one more.
No, that one
No,
was
that was,
pulled.
before we go into these presentations, can we grab lunch?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. So, if, 10 minutes for, lunch. Thanks. Sorry, make some calls.
Kenny, you talk about.
I'm calling, he said it was on Zoom.
Oh, so you talking?
I suspect that he's realized. Or what is that? Or there is someone that- Yes, I-
Well, I'm not willing to be up there. I'm not.
Right.
Right.
He's trying to be at home.
Always. Is the minute maybe still on?
So Patty, when I was in Atlanta the last time, they had a family day out at this airport and they had everything from fire engines to planes, and they actually had a couple of buses. Which airport? PDK or P something, yeah, someone in the cab. Anyway, I was told that the fire trucks, because kids love buses, fire trucks, things like that, that the fire trucks would do, the fire stations would do birthday parties. Really? And for the kids to come in and look at the trucks, get in a truck. I thought, I wonder if it would have the same effect with buses, because my daughter keeps telling me that the twins are obsessed with buses. Now, granted, most of what they see are school buses, but because they live outside of the, really not in the damn metro area. But I thought, I don't know what the liability associated with something like that would be, but an opportunity for kids to understand a little bit about buses and transportation, and but she said that we can go to the fire stations and they will actually do a birthday party.
Wow.
Going along. I was busy last week.
And little boys are just nuts.
My boy, Walter. You see? Oh, okay. I go. Our one George.
He's doing great. He's blind now and why, but they don't think they're gonna remove it right now. It's stable, so we have to give him drops like 10 times a day, 2 different kinds of drops.
I thought we were heading a bit this morning at 8.
Oh, yeah.
And he ended up not having to go. So I don't know what has happened, so like just went to the line and one of her back legs, she's hit. She's went to the line and one of her back legs, and it started last week, so we got her in, decided not to do an X-ray, but just to give her an anti-inflammatory. And by Saturday, it just didn't seem like it's getting better, so I was texting her vet and saying, I think I'm just gonna go back to the appointment for tomorrow morning at 8. And let's get the X-rays done, because and all of a sudden yesterday, she's not perfect yet, you know what I mean? She's still got a little hitch, so to speak, in her walk, but it's much, much better. So I guess we've been on the she also had eye infections.
Look at you.
I got the purse.
No, I've got a $1 check from Germany.
Yeah. So.
You're not in the city.
Yeah, I can imagine. But not growing, growing, growing. You're on the bill, independent as well. You're on the bill.
You'll have HR day. But I know Carolyn's not here, so it'll just. Chairman, when we get to six. We will have six.
Oh, no. You guys don't know. That's not bad. But now. The only one that you know is your name. The only one that's been here, the only one that's been here, the only one that's been here. You're gonna sell it, you see. That ain't funny.
Yes, it is. It does, you take that.
They're part of the video.
That was a big deal.
Yeah. So, okay, that was out for him. I'm gonna get out of this one. That one here.
We got word off.
Yeah.
I should have took this a long time. Yes.
Yeah, what?
We're not gonna do that. I know.
Yeah. My mom is 10 gallons in a pot of beer. So this means this is beer will look at. Yeah. She don't have no. And we took my aunt's keys away. And so she ain't sleeping no more. Girl, don't need a woman need to be driving. But my mother probably never should have been given a driver's license ever. Because she just aims her car, like she don't really drive it. She just pointed in the direction she going and step on the gas. How old is she? She's 72. What for her keys? Huh? What for her keys? We took my aunt's keys. Well, that was her. She's 85. We took her keys, but she done had 3 cars. But she said they not her fault because people hit her from behind. I'm trying to explain to her, she the reason they hit her from behind. So
We'd now like to go into our executive director's report with our CEO, Ms. Baby Massimo.
You were provided the, Squire Patton Boggs Federal Report, and I know earlier in the meeting today, we discussed, and you also have a complete listing of all of the grants that are being compiled at the request of board members.
The report is sent out again, but I looked for it, but.
The Squire Patton Boggs report shows it's 6A2 federal attached.
Oh, that, okay, but yeah, okay.
So it's just showing on mine, it's attached. So,
Oh, I couldn't,
I'm sorry. We are continuing to monitor all of the upcoming federal opportunities, but of course, the big one and the one that we discussed earlier today is Smart Grant Phase 2. Trying to think if there's anything else. And I think other than that, I'm gonna turn it over to communications for the communications section of the report. Oh, okay.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. I am Aria Johnson, the Public Information Communications Officer here at CAT. I'll be up here briefly with you guys, running down some of the things we had going on in April. This is an update on our CAT tracker. You know, it's available right now on Google Play and the Apple App Store. In April, there were more than 1,400 new users of CAT tracker and 35. That might be wrong. Please don't get that. I'll update that later. Social media, we have close to more than 2,900 Facebook users, more than 2,100 Twitter users, almost 1,700 Instagram users. Our LinkedIn seems to has been getting a lot of boost and a lot of subscribers lately within the last 2 months, and then YouTube is close to 400 subscribers. Our broadcast for WJCL, we were mentioned twice. WSAB, we had 6 mentions. Fox 28, we had 1 mention, and WTOC, we had 1 mention. WSAB recently in April did a series on transportation, and they talked to us about our microtransit, our recent expansion to Fort Whitworth, and also possible plans to expand to the Hyundai Meta plant to provide service there. CAT was featured in APTA twice in April. Transforming transit placemaking was more of a commentary piece that featured CEOs, and our CEO was featured. And then also creating an ecosystem of transit innovation and collaboration in Savannah was featured in the 2024 Mobility Conference magazine issue. So what's next? I don't know if you guys have seen, but we have a new series called The CAT Journey, where we are talking to CAT riders on all modes of transportation on their journey of using CAT to get them to where they need and want to go. That's jobs, recreational, doctor appointments. And so we have 2 episodes released now on YouTube and social media. And then we're just going to continue promoting CAT services.
So you said it's on YouTube and what else?
Social media, Facebook, Twitter,
All the ones you
LinkedIn.
named earlier?
Yes, ma'am.
That's also on there as well?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And then for the month of May, month of June, we'll continue to promote CAT services. And then we have Ridership Appreciation Month that you guys approved already. We do that in every June of the year. And so we're excited to provide that for riders.
So do you pick a particular community on a particular day or time to do the CAT journey?
We coordinate with operations, with paratransit, CAT Connect, and microtransit more scheduled with them to see when's a good time, when we have good ridership, when we're low on ridership, to see when's the best time to get a rider to talk to us. Fixed route is a little more flexible because we have many buses that we can kind of get on and say, hey, you want to talk to us about your journey? Most of the time they do, sometimes they don't. But we have more options with fixed route to go to another route if we don't have anybody on a certain route to talk to us.
How many you try to cover? How many people try to get on?
So we try to do 1 person at a time.
Okay.
But the goal is to do every mode. That's ferry, fixed route, CAT Connect, microtransit, paratransit.
Within that month?
No, not within the month, but,
Just on an ongoing
just an
basis.
ongoing, but we
Just a
just
part of telling the
started.
cat journey story.
Right, so I'm saying, tell the cat journey story, like in June, you may just have one person telling the story.
Right,
Gotcha.
yes,
We
ma'am.
posted two.
But we posted two already.
Right, but you would get at least one person.
Yes, ma'am. And with it being two people in the department, we like to kind of, schedule it more. We might, like we already have, I believe, 4 people, but now we got to edit it and all that good stuff. So it just takes a little bit of time to get, but we're moving that along, so. Any questions? Yes.
That's smart. So how many people have downloaded it? That's smart.
So I believe Miss Mary would have that with.
For the people who have downloaded the app, I don't have that,
We can
right
get
now,
that
I
for you.
that from those settings, but I do have the ridership, so we have the ridership data and it's a number of trips, so sometimes we have more than one person, makes a ride, so a rider is actually higher than the number of trips.
You have to get that from Georgia Tech, they're keeping, they're
So
tracking it.
the app is built by Georgia Tech, so
Mhm.
they're the ones who have ownership of that, but they published it under the Georgia Tech apps, so, their apps, so they're the ones who, like, we publish our own app, and our own account, it's published under whatever the Georgia Tech.
But it's available through
But
Apple.
Yeah, it's available through Apple.
It's Apple and Google, and we can go into Apple and Google and see those metrics too.
But their metrics are through Georgia Tech, not through us.
And that's in part because of the grant stuff, because of their responsibilities under the grant for building that out, so.
But you said we can see it though.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I got a question. Is it possible to do a story on, when we provide service for the elections,
Of course.
so that people will know that it's possible for the future?
That's a
Yes,
really
sir.
good idea, Director Adams, is when we do when the runoffs come up, we
Mm-hmm.
we should go specifically find somebody that's using it to get to the runoffs and talk to them about how to put that mention in. That's a very good idea. And then that way we can use that in advance of the general election. Great
Okay.
idea.
And you can repeat it, you can repeat it the next time there's an election, even if it's old, you can still repeat it.
Because it's still the same story.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I
Very
do
good.
appreciate that. Yes, thank you all.
Thank you.
All right. Dr. Meany, service delivery update.
Just uploading my PowerPoint. Okay. First of all, I would like to thank Ms. Frank for bringing me on board. I enjoy working with her. I guess this is our last time doing presentation together. We worked very well as a team. When I came on board, we were 42 drivers. We now seem to be 3 nets. Our transit vehicles were all in useful life. Now we got almost 80% of our transit vehicles all in place. We expanded services, Cat Connect, Micro Transit, and even the fixed routes that were all suspended. When I came on board as a team, we were able to bring all the smart park. We introduced CDA training and got people walking in every Friday. It's kind of sad that you are leaving. I personally thought we're gonna do this together, so we both agreed to retire. Life has its own course, and I'm happy to be a team member. I wish you well. And as long as I'm here, if you need anything from CAT, I'll do my best to still serve you as my members. Thank you for your service. I got a little emotional, but yeah, let me get up on track. So thank you, Chairman Koji, Board of Directors, the public watchers. And, today I'm just going to be precise to the point. I think my PowerPoints kind of describe everything in its accuracy, so I won't waste much time on that. The first rough side, the performance for the month of April went down as compared to March. It went down by 2% point. We have a lot of call outs, and also some students are still getting, anytime manpower is down, so that performance is going to be affected. And that's just the way the industry is. More people, more manpower, you got extra board, somebody call out, you just quickly send the bus out there. You don't. And this is why, part of the reasons why I'm not coming. For the month of April, as compared to March, was 2% it's down. It's like this. Again, ridership for the month of April was also down compared to March. March we had 179,152. April dip a little bit, 178,141. So I'm more concerned anytime ridership's down. That means either people are not using our service, or we're not on time, we're not dependable, then people will give up. Ridership's always going to be high if our system's dependable and reliable. And that is fact.
But do we even know why it's down? Do we have any idea, how do we figure out what the problem is?
So I will say historically, April is a lower ridership month than March. So March is a peak ridership month in this month, and then we see, so comparing month to month isn't always a good comparison. You'll see in the ridership report, I compare year over year, and you see that the ridership is increasing. So to compare a ridership between April and March, we always historically go down a little bit.
Yeah, and the question is why is that? I think to me, we kind of get, you have like spring break, people have more tourists than you have in March.
It's roughly about south.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not
a big number, it's about this day. But she said historically, March.
March is our peak ridership.
The good number up there too is that what our average ridership is on fixed route, and it's
Oh, yeah.
up. It's up.
But historically, you have historical drop in April versus March. I would think you'd be looking at, what caused
And
that.
I'm gonna take a moment of personal privilege and make a big plug right here so as Dr. Meany pointed out in some of his introductory remarks, for your consideration in the FY25 budget. We've done a really good job of starting to replace paratransit vehicles. We inherited a situation where we had a nearly fully depreciated fleet. It's just kind of remarkable. And so, on the paratransit side, we've done a really good job of getting those vehicles in there, getting new programs started, whether that's Cat Connects, Cat Smart, whatever, and overall paratransit vehicles. We've done a really good job of starting to replace those. Fixed route is still in desperate need of our support to make sure that we continue to that, and they take a lot longer lead time, and they're of course a lot more costly. So they average about 1.2 million, somewhere in that range, and they take about a year and a half lead time to be able to get an order in and then get it in here. The fixed route bus system is in desperate need of capital replacement. So please keep that in mind as you're considering that FY25 budget request.
And just to add this, since Ms. Ray brought that up, the first route buses, we have about 22 buses that are halfway useful life. So FTA gives us 12 years or 500,000 miles. The 2018s have about 300,000 miles, so we can go almost 200 or more. We have vehicles that are almost 800,000 miles. And I just want the board to be aware that our system, ridership will increase, our brand will be more popular if we have buses that appeal to the public. This is a tourist town. People come all over the world to Savannah and see a bus that the green is peeled out the white is short, I mean, buses look very bad, so.
And
Well-
our residents and our folks who live here all the time deserve that regardless of the
Yeah,
tourists.
yeah.
The folk who are supporting this are the people, we need to make sure they have the best possible experience.
But now, having said that, also your existing fleet should be cleaned.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of complaints about not having your existing fleet.
Right.
That should be, I mean, when you step on a bus, I don't really care what the outside might look like, but I want the inside to be clean as well. I don't know the age of the fleet, I don't know none of that as a rider. But my expectation is that vehicle. is
Inside and outside should be
Period.
clean, yes.
Just keep making us aware of those things, Dr. Robinson, because when you all tell us that somebody has complained, or when we get a complaint through the info line about the cleanliness of buses, and we don't get that many, honestly, but when we do, Mr. Flanders, jumps right on it, and Liz
Yeah.
jumps right on it.
So, but that's.
Yeah, that's a fact.
I just want to make
Yeah.
a point that, we talk about the age of our fleet and all this kind of, but the riders don't know that. All they know that if they want to clean ride.
Yes, and that's true. We have, had a meeting about drivers, either on the bus, leaving all kinds of stuff in the bus and that all kinds of, roaches and all that stuff. So which is, we have a policy in place that we're gonna enforce that. So if you come in with a bus and the cleaner document, there was some bones or all that stuff, we will just hold that driver accountable. Currently, we're short staffed with the cleaners, so that's part of the reason why, people work overtime, we don't come in at all. On the short, we are short staffed on the cleaner side. But you're right, it's not only the outside, the inside have to be clean as well. Now, as the board can recall, this is not part of the template for my report. I created this template to share with the board about our KPIs. This is very key. This is how we measure if CAT is doing good or not. Now, I think even when I got here, report was just all rushed through and nobody even look at the KPIs. For these KPIs, I will continue doing this to let the public and the board know what is CAT performance. Are we doing good or are we doing bad? If you look at the month of April, everything is green. When I say green and red, Dr. Robinson talked about. So the only red we had was the paratransit gas filling vehicles. If you compare that to last month, the month of March, we have 75,000 miles. And then comes to April, 67,000 miles. We have some tire issue. We can't fix tires here. We have to take a vehicle outside somewhere to fix a tire. That took almost 3 days. I have to literally go there and come on, guys, go get it, So when the vehicles are out, and that's why the ridership, the mileage of the gas filling vehicles are down compared to last month. Other than that, everything checked out green. So I'll be doing a KPI month to month. So, in all demand services, transit again, the ridership went down. And this is, if you compare this to the month of March, it went down because we were struggling. Like I said, we were almost about 10 short. So anytime, all these percentages are all tied to manpower. Anytime we're short of drivers, we cannot fulfill our promise to the public. And like Dr. O'Day said, paratransit is a pre-manifested system. It's not, you can't just call and say this. So if you have people that do a reservation and it comes the next morning, we can't even fulfill that. I have dialysis at 8 o'clock and then we call it, oh no, it's going to be 9 o'clock because we show drivers. That's just not a better system. So I agree with the board about making sure that paratransit is a priority because people do depend on it and people reserve a right before even the day comes. So we'll work on that and make sure it's fully staffed. Hopefully next month, I'll be able to laugh at it and says, we got paratransit back on track again. And this is a sign, I love data, I love using data because you can't lie about anything. When manpower is up to its maximum, you're gonna have more ridership, you're gonna have on-time performance. This is just an example of this. Look at, if you compare this to March, April was down, ridership. We had 6,169 in the month of March. I know Mary said March is always high, but still, this is also significant that we were short riders. That is why ridership went down. Now, this has always been my favorite slide. The Cat Connect, as you can see, and Ministry talked about it. This time I put everywhere we go. In the past, I would just only show high ridership, but this time I included all the residents of the service. And you can see that Williams Sisters is on top. The blue represent March, and the orange is April. And if you can see the slight difference, it wasn't really that much. So all data shows that Williams Sisters has one of the highest ridership. Pula is not doing good, and what I'm hearing is that they want different locations. So I'm gonna have to go there, the department to go ask the residents where do they want to go. We assigned them to a shopping mall, and I guess what I'm hearing is that they want to go to the one on Audition Road. So that will be a conversation we're gonna have. But Pula, as you can see, Pula is very, very well.
What's over? You saying Pula?
Yeah, Pula is
Pinewood?
yeah, Pinewood.
Pinewood.
Yeah, 82, 62, March was 82, and then April 62. It's not doing well at all. So we might want to revisit that and use our resources wisely. The Marine Service, right before this meeting, I called the head of the Marine, the captain, and said, hey, can you explain why there's a big difference? It's almost 7,000 ridership. And he said, Dr. Manning, that was the end of school year. So there were no activities and tourism was also down. So that's why the Marine on the month of April was low. Other than that, if you compare that to March, we had almost 70,000. People tend to use the Marine services a lot. Okay, I'm sorry. Especially when there's event in town. So it's a big difference. And again, I go to what Mary said. March is always high ridership, and I think she's right. Because if you compare all the mode of transportation, March seems to hold up very high.
Dr. Manning, I want to mention something before we move on from this slide too, for the board's awareness. I think most everyone is aware that there is a major event that will be here in just about another week and a half. The beta students, there's 10,000 of them that will be here in town for their some sort of annual event. We've been working for months with all of the local folks, city, county, chamber, convention center, and so forth, to make sure we were prepared for that. On the Marine Services side, of course, we are down to 2 ferries right now. 2 ferries isn't going to even begin to touch it. And so in order to not have that have a situation where we get overwhelmed, especially with a whole bunch of kids, students milling around in that area, we are adding 2 buses to run a regular bus bridge. We're not waiting until it's needed. We're going ahead and activating it because it will be needed immediately to help us transport the students back and forth from the Savannah side of the river over to the convention center side of the river. And we'll be running that for the period of days that that convention is in town. So I just wanted you to be aware that we did a lot of pre-planning work on that. And we wanted to make sure that we fulfilled expectations because it's one that'll get that's a lot of visibility for CAT and Chatham County and City of Savannah. And so that'll be being run during that period of time. You know, Dr. Manning, how do we do usually Willie comes in and we'll have somebody.
That would be considered special service. Willie is my manager. Transportation
I don't know.
Yes,
I was wondering if you want to add, if it was considered an extra route.
It's-
Would we have driving for that route? I think.
Yeah, so when I came on board, I did a general of, you know, that means anytime there's a bus break, there's a procedure to follow. Yeah, so that is all in place. We're gonna add 2 more buses. And then we consider either overtime or extra board to run it as a one.
About the bus bridge, and the bus bridge location. Prior to your general order, when we used to have, using the buses, we would run it from Hutchinson Island and we would drop them off somewhere on NLK and maybe by JW. Now we are dropping them off at Johnson Square, which is not really necessarily where they should go at. So maybe y'all might want to revisit the drop off location, put it back on NLK in Indian, since we ran on River Street.
we'll work with, Dr. Manning and the operations team can work with our community partners to consider that for sure.
Talk about that. That's good.
Somebody else decides whether the kids are picked up and dropped off. Somebody else decides, not us.
Well, we do.
We
So-
work together to determine where can the buses safely and efficiently operate and where can they safely and efficiently, making sure they're corralling the young folks and moving them on to their next, destination. So we do that together. But I just wanted you to be aware that's such a big one and it's, and we realized that, you know, with only 2 functioning ferries, there was no way it would have been a really miserable day, a set of days. So anyway, that's what we're doing now. And that, is an important part of public services we provide.
Thank you. Now, and I've explained this over and over, and I think by now everybody know what this means. Meaning the mean distance between vehicle fills. How many miles can we run before our vehicles break down? And I applaud the maintenance team. Our buses are very old, but they're doing everything they can to keep them running. It's costing us some more money because we keep replacing parts. And so eventually, like most spaces, is something that we have to find a way to replace these vehicles. I heard on the budget workshop, I wasn't able to attend, but I heard Ms. Carter said that they may need 25 buses, but that's not impossible. And that's true because the only room we have is the 1,800 buses that have about 200,000 miles. If with time, we don't find a way or means to replace these buses, they're all, you know, it's gonna be a lot of, what makes the system bad, in all my experience in the transit industry, is when you have a bus load of people and the bus breaks down. You know, and now it takes a long time for the bus to be swapped. That's not a good service. Right now, we're okay because we're doing everything we can to keep them on road, but I want the board to keep in mind that at some point we have to find ways to replace these buses. And I think the planning had some program in place, but I still think it's not enough. So,
Dr. Manning, one other thing we should mention here as well too is as we are increasing service and meeting the demands in our community and getting more vehicles, we are quickly running out of space. And so that is why the paratransit maintenance facility that is currently grant funded and is in design and development, the NEPA process, the federal process and so forth, that getting done in the next few years is going to be really important because we simply, just like we don't have enough space to accommodate all of our employees, we also do not have enough space to accommodate all of our equipment. And so that new facility is going to be really important. And I think the other thing that's going to be really good about that is because it appears right now in that federal process that we're going through that the location will be somewhere on the west side of town. And I think that that's a good thing that our paratransit vehicles in particular will be deploying from that side in an effort to get to some of the areas where we see some of our highest paratransit and other senior ridership. So but that is going to be a really important facility because we cannot accommodate what's happening out here right now.
So you have all the space for staff over there as well.
There will be space for the paratransit staff and the, I guess what's the call center or whatever, to go out there. Yes, ma'am. It'll all be built into that facility. That's the plan right now.
How many office spaces?
I don't think we're to that level of detail right now. We're still just trying to go through site. There's a federally prescribed site process you have to go through to meet what's called the NEPA requirements, National Environmental Policy Act requirements. And they're rigorous and all that sort of thing. And we're still going through that part of the process now. But the plan, the space planning, you'll have a lot of opportunity to see that as it's moving through the process.
And is that the city's gonna provide us with,
The city's going to donate the land. Mhm.
you said on the west side?
Yes, ma'am.
Anything-
There's there's several. There's a couple of different locations that we've looked at. And then we still have to look at what's called a no build. So what happens if you don't do anything? And we also have to look at what would it take to do something here to make it usable? And it's astronomically because of the situation that we're in. So, but you still have to compare all those things as a part of the process. So, I'm being a little reluctant to put sites out there just because that part of the federal process is in play and we have to be super careful in that process. You know, look at you, you're nodding. So.
Now the next slide, please. Okay. Now I'm gonna run quick on this one here. This is just another template that I added on, just for us to see reasons for customer complaints. And these are all pass-bys, rudeness, and late buses. So the numbers speak it all. Hello? And this is the call center. We say averagely you have to be on hold for 60 seconds. And ever since I've been here, I don't see a day that will negotiate this KPI. It's always either double or even more. The amount of March was, no, this is this is a typo. So it should be March and April. I apologize for that. So for March was 98 seconds and April was 111 seconds, which is too much. It's almost double. And I sent a proposal to Director Odell. I think they've sent it to you. Director Odell, if you have a minute to review my proposal for the call center.
Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So with that plan, it's more like what I call the airline format. When you call in, you'll be directed to somebody that is skilled in that transportation department. If you call paratransit, the call will give you an option, either one to take you to a paratransit where somebody knows what's going on. Instead of putting on hold and call a department to find out what's going on. If we go by that proposal, the call center will be well equipped and it will be, it's part of our mouthpiece to the world. Everybody called in, so I think the call center is very essential that we structure it right, get the right staff in place, because everything that the world sees is through our call center. And it should be very good. So Odell, I shared that proposal with you. You can share with your board members of my proposal. And I think if you all look at it, it's a very good proposal. Now, this slide, I would like to thank the union president, Dania, and the vice president, and also our legal team. We have a side letter of agreement that defines the AM and PM. So this is just a very essential, currently a cut. If all the students that come from graduating from the class, we just put them on extra board. So you do 4 hours, 3 hours per need, you go home, come back again. It's like you here all day and you get paid for 8 hours. My exit interview shows that most of the people walk away, they can't take it anymore. And they say, you know what, I'll go to Walmart where I have a schedule. And I benefited this when I was driving a bus. So I go to school AM and then I'm on extra board PM. We don't have that here. So I've agreed with the union and legal has provided us a document, signed letter agreement that the board might see soon. where it defines AM and PM board. So if you come from the class, you have a choice to go AM extra board or PM extra board. That means you're on extra board, you don't have any assignment, but you want to work in the morning. If anything comes up in the morning, you just go and fill it. And if you don't want to come in AM, since I have family, I can come in 6 in the morning. I want to do a PM, you have a choice to be a PM. This way people have a life, they have a set schedule to be here. This is one of the 10 of why drivers were leaving us. So we have a signed letter of agreement done, and the union is supportive of this, and it'll get to the board very soon. So that's another good plan. And again, I thank the union for working with me on this. The radio channel, as you all, I don't know, most of you have been on our first route buses. So currently, if a driver calls into radio, anybody on the bus can hear the conversation. It doesn't matter when anybody calls, and all the passengers all can hear what communication is going on. That is not right. Everywhere I've been, we don't have this set up. So I'm working with the city to create as a private channel. So currently I have the BCC in place. The BCC supervisor overlook all the buses. They can talk to them and tell them. But the problem is, even when they call them, anybody on the bus can hear that. So we're trying to create a private channel where every conversation from the driver to supervisor will be private. Nobody can hear it. And that is the key. So I'll give you an update on this next board report to see the progress of it. But the work is in progress on that. Microtransit. This is some knowledge I learned from his friend. 2% of the population don't have a landline, and they don't have smartphones. So even if it's 1%, we just don't want to leave anybody unattended. So we're creating a landline for microtransit where instead of you using an app to book a ride, you can call in. The individual that will pick your call and do the same thing like you have done on the smartphone. This is just to help people that are not savvy or they don't even have any smartphones. As part of my plan, that's all there, we're seeing that call center plan.
What about people that are, there's a hearing impaired? That, you know, they may have a device that may not be a landline or a phone, but somehow you get communication. I don't know how that works. I think that people that are hearing impaired, there's something on their phone and not on their phone, I don't know, but have different things.
Don't they do text after you and stuff?
So, but like, if you're hearing impaired, maybe it's what if you're visually impaired. You can't see a text message.
Oh, now they have that thing where you can hear,
Then you can phone and ring and,
yeah, they have.
They have a hearing aid that's connected to the phone.
but is that connected our,
Yeah,
But don't they have one that's a voice to text?
now,
Like you touch something and it speaks to them?
yeah, that's called voiceover. You can get voiceover and then it'll connect to any other app, any other service. And people that's visually impaired and people that are hearing impaired use the same one. People that's visually impaired, there's 4 or 5 different apps you can use, 4 or 5 different, like I said, apps you can use that's compatible with Chatham Area Transit or Amtrak or whatever. And, you know, when you, like, if the phone rings, it'll ring in my hearing aid. Or if the phone rings, I have a piece of equipment that has a camera on the side, and it'll tell me Chatham Area Transit. So you have to know that the devices are out there, but there are devices out there that can help you. You know, I get around okay, but I know people that use that in this county, when the phone rings and they can be in their house, they can actually know that the bus is outside.
Well, once we implement that system, we'll find out all that upgrade. Because the goal is to make sure that everybody can use our system. The CDL, like I said, we almost got to 80, which I was gonna brag about it, and then people retire, just before I can even say anything. So now we're 72 net. By net, I mean, this is excluding people on workers' camp, people on all that stuff. This is what we have at hand. So that's a good program for the CDL, and thanks the board for the support when we launch the CDL program. Also, I've also added to today's request what I call the dashboard initiative, where information will be shared through a dashboard. It's so important. Currently, people are just calling everywhere for information. If we have dashboard, you just log in, go to the dashboard, get all that information. So it's part of the plan that I sent you. So if you look at it, go back to it. Last slide, I just want to say this real quick. The picture don't look good because the way it was taken. This is Ms. Bar in my office. You can see all the stuff behind it, but she has served us very well. 37 years of service. So I brought her to my office and also want the board to know that VAR is retiring effective June 3rd. She gave us all she can. Like I said, I wish I could do more with her, but everybody have time to say yes, I'm done.
Dr. Mann,
Listen,
before I leave, I would like to commend you and your people on a job well done. We don't understand the volume of chaotic activity that goes on. I mean, I do because I ride. They may have 2 extra drivers. If 3 drivers call off sick, that's a chaotic day. That's a chaotic day, from the dispatcher to the drivers to the schedulers. And y'all handle it so well with professionalism, kindness, and not just with me. I hear from other people who ride. And you and Mr. Massimo, my mom heroes, that's all she talks about. She don't want to talk about me, she just want to talk about you two. So, seriously, from Ms. Arden and Mr. Dumas on down, when you see them, just tell them I said thank you every time.
thank you
From
for
the bottom of my heart, because it doesn't matter if your doctor's late, they're coming back to get you. If you're late, they're coming back to get you. And again, we don't understand the volume because, we're not there. But I see it in real time whenever I ride. My rides are never perfect, but the effort that they put forth, make sure I get to dialysis on time, make sure I get here on time, and not just because it's me, but there are other people out there who have to do the same thing, get to work, to the doctor's office. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Will there be an appreciation done by the company for Mrs. 37-year retiree, that you guys be doing something or?
Yes.
She wanted something very quiet, and so there was something very super smart. She specifically was emphatic about it. She didn't want any kind of thing, so there was a very quiet sort of lunch kind of a thing that was done for her, and that was as per her request.
So she didn't want the board members there?
Yeah, but she wanted me from the board.
Yeah, we asked specifically, couldn't we do something more, involving everybody, including the board but more everybody? And she wanted something super small, just a few, out to lunch, done. And so she was adamant about it, so we respected it. Now she is in.
Well, she's on,
Where is she this week?
Jamaica.
Jamaica.
yeah, she'll be watching this live, but she want me to tell the board that she appreciate everything that you guys did for her. And this is why this slide is here. Well, her team did a send-off ceremony for her at ITC.
Yeah.
It was a big deal, and most people attended. Yeah, so.
I do think it would be a good idea if we did start acknowledging milestones with our employees, 5, 10, 15, 20-year milestones, because we really don't know who's been here, how long. And maybe we should, just as a board say, hey, you've been here 20 years. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's a good motivational too, you know.
Thank you for your report.
Okay,
Uh,
thank
Mayor-
you all.
Good afternoon, Mary Moxley, to the Planning and Infrastructure Development. I'm just gonna point out some highlights on my report here. As I mentioned before, when we look at items, it's from 0 to year. And from April of 2023 to April of 2024, thank you, we've seen a 24, almost a 25% increase in ridership. It's really fantastic. And so I think that's a good thing to point out. Most of our routes, we've seen an increase of ridership in. The only one we did not see was 3B, and the reason behind that is because we combined that Sunday 3B with the 3, and overall, the ridership on that Augusta corridor has increased. So again, we've seen an overall increase in ridership year over year, which is a good thing. I will also let the board know that coming in June, we will bring the July service change and looking at the staffing needs that we have. The planning staff has decided that we are going to maintain the same roster that we have, so there'll be no increase in service. There will be some pattern changes that will hopefully help address some of that on-time performance, and you will see that complete report in June. So that concludes my report, unless you guys have any questions.
In her full report's in.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Glory.
Good afternoon, everyone. Financial update for April 2024, which is as follows. For the month of April, our ending operating account balance is $11,179,093. Grant, $5,604,000. And our Georgia One investment account has a balance of $8,443,000. Our Georgia Fund, which is our reserve account, balance as of March 31st, April 1st, $8,405,000. Our interest for the month was $37,227, which our balance for April 30th, $8,443,000. Next slide. These are our cash receipts for the month of April. For the month of April, our special district transit taxes, we received $196,000. April is one of our lowest months for the year for receiving transit taxes. Paratransit funds, $495,725. City of Savannah, POR fees, which this is for the operations of our ferry services, $54,558,000. FTA operating assistance received during the month of April, $263,914. City of Savannah, DOT shuttle, we received $194,351. Our operating cash balance for the month of April, $10,268,624. April 30th balance. Next slide. As I just stated, our ending balance, actual balance for the month of April was $10,268,824,000. We're projecting our June 30th ending balance to be $12,482,000. And the increase that we're anticipating to bring our balance up will be our special district taxes. June is one of our largest months that we receive taxes for special districts. That concludes my presentation. Are there any questions? Thank you, Lauren. Great presentation.
That Chairman, I'll have
Thank you.
HR. We don't have an HR report today.
Can I ask one question? I know you're recruiting HR manager for that.
So Ms. Smalls and I, got it down to 3 finalists. Then we had a second round of interviews with the 3 finalists with Ms. Cutter.
And also they had a chance to meet, Dr. Boatwright, our DEI EEO officer, or specialist. They can still classify as specialist right now. And then, Ms. Cutter, I think they're in the process now of the one that Ms. Cutter, has indicated is her top candidate. They're doing the background checks and then an offer letter will be issued. So a much needed gap in our, and all three though were highly experienced in different kinds of ways, but highly experienced candidates, two of whom, maybe all three, but two of whom in particular had some extensive, HR experience working in a union environment.
That's good to know.
Absolutely.
I'm glad we're close. Yeah, that's good to know.
Thank you. We don't have any old or new business. So, item 9, staff is still working on the response for item 9.
Yeah, I think Andrew's gonna.
So, Director Adele, you had gotten back to me and said that you were comfortable with changes that I had proposed.
And then I sent you back, with the part about the postmortem.
Right, and that's really a different policy, right?
Yeah, but I think we need to say that. I thought we
Okay.
should say, I think we need to write it, but to finish that one off,
Mhm.
it's a line in the.
Okay,
So,
I can have, that, I get, it could be considered at the next board meeting, I think, for
Yeah.
sure.
I think so.
It's close, so this is a new policy that the board would approve on, metrics or reporting to the board on, certain complaints.
Thank you. I would also like to thank Ms. Ragnar for her service with that for these years, and also like to thank her for coming in and filling in for our CEO position when she had a chance. She stepped up for us. At the same time, we'd like to thank Ms. DeMassimo and her service and this being her last meeting with us. We would like to definitely thank you and commend you on a great job you did with us. And we wish you good luck in your future endeavors.
Mr.
With that,
Chairman, I
yes.
would like to add to that, so thank you for, your leadership and for the direction that challenging the trends of us in currently, and I think that, it was a lot of work, and I appreciate your being here for the last almost 2.5 years, and so we wish you well going forward.
It's been my honor to serve, and so I appreciate your kind words, but it's truly been my honor to serve. The most fun I have is the kind of fun I had on Saturday. So Saturday, I had gone to fill my car up at the Kroger, and I pulled into the pumps and looked across, and sitting in front of the Kroger, there were 2 Cap Connect vehicles and 1 Cap Mobility vehicle. They were all lined up. And so I thought, I'm gonna forget about my gas and I'm gonna go pull over and get out. And I spent Saturday talking to the operators and talking to the wonderful customers that we have as they were undertaking their essential shopping trips. And they, I was realizing and thinking about what a difference CAP makes in the community every day by making sure that folks can make those kind of trips, but also for seniors, they're just having that opportunity to get out and socialize and be a vibrant part of the community, and that is so important. So the mission and the work that we do here cannot ever be discounted, and I wish everyone here all the best moving forward.
All right. That being said, our next meeting will be June 25th. And this time I'd like to adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Don't we have a workshop before then?
You just said you're ready to vote.
For
Oh.
I didn't know you never individually.
Okay.
Which makes sense. She's sitting there while I'm in the hospital.
Freak don't rise.